Thank you, Chris. We're at Oklahoma State University. And for the first time ever in the Tom Osborne era, Nebraska will be taking the field to the kind of reception they have come to expect on the road. And 45,000 have turned out to usher in a new era of Oklahoma State football. Bob Simmons, the new head coach, the top assistant in Colorado a year ago. And Mike Gottfried, he's going to be starting with a lot of freshmen tonight, which means he'll get that freshman enthusiasm. Also means he'll get those freshman mistakes.
Mike, they're going to start 2 freshman linebackers tonight. This is the first week of classes, so they've had the opening of the math class this week, and they're going to get a class in Nebraska football offense style. They're going to face the isolation, the trap, the option, the play-action pass, the misdirection, so they're going to have their hands full.
Mike, any other team that lost 14 Letterman would have to rebuild. Nebraska loses 14 starters. Their second preseason in the country.
Mike, they're loaded with talent. I think they should be the #1 team in the country to start the season. They have 2 quarterbacks who can play for anybody in the country.
It's the premiere of Thursday night CFA, the kickoff, coming up next. Back at Lewis Field in Stillwater, let's go down to the field for the toss of the coin.
Go with the first and second half. Go the first.
Oklahoma State has won the toss and will defer to the second half.
So Nebraska will receive. Let's get down to Jerry Punch. Doctor?
Thanks, Mike, and hello, everyone. Unfortunately, opening defense of their national championship has not been foremost in the minds of the Husker faithful the last couple of weeks. Rather, maintaining eligibility, their leading returning rusher, junior I-back Lawrence Phillips, in the midst of an ongoing NCAA investigation. Now, this week, Phillips given somewhat of a reprieve. He was told he could play while the investigation is ongoing, but the university very concerned. What if violations are found? We don't think they will be, but what if they are? Do we have to forfeit the games that Phillips played in? The NCAA say no way. If the university acts in good faith and provides information, then the games will not be forfeited. Thus, Phillips will start tonight and begin pursuit of a Heisman Trophy. Mike?
All right, Jerry, thanks very much. They're the deep men for Nebraska. Reggie Ball, number 7, number 21, Damon Benning. Lawson Vaughn kicks it away and gets to the end zone. Tommy Frazier gets the starting nod at quarterback. He'll be joined by Lawrence Phillips, over 1,700 yards a year ago, and fullback Makovecka. Reggie Ball, the top returning receiver, with Cluster Johnson and Mark Gilman. And one of Nebraska's best center ever, Aaron Graham, with all 4 of his line mates getting their first career starts. Phillips on the toss. And swarmed behind the line of scrimmage at the 19-yard line. There's the emotion. For the Cowboy defense, Lorenzo Green, their most consistent down lineman. Williams on the nose, and Grossfield. On the outside, Javon Langford had 8.5 sacks last year, with Lewis Adams and the 2 true freshmen inside. And senior Johnny Jones, the team's best cover guy, joined by Johnson, Fisher, and Williams in the Cowboy secondary. 2nd and 11. Option. Frazier keeps and dives out to the 28-yard line. Lorenzo Green had him around the ankles.
Mike, you're talking about emotion. Every coach knows his football team's going to play the first ball game because they're excited about playing. They want to play. How long can the emotion last? I think the key for Nebraska is plays over 15 yards, big plays. Oklahoma State has to stop the big plays.
And they would love to stop him here on 3rd and a long 2. Go 3 and out. Phillips is the single setback. Frazier runs the option. He's got room, has the first down, and dives to the 36. He is so dangerous on the option.
And he won the starting quarterback job in spring practice. Tom Osborne said they were even in the fall, but Tommy Frazier had won the job in spring practice. I was out there in the spring, Mike, and I'll tell you, he throws the ball with more confidence now. He's a better passer this year than he was last year.
Behringer will wait his turn. He will play tonight, and certainly through the first 4 or 5 games. He'll get a lot of minutes. It's the fullback, Makovica, the senior from Brainerd, Nebraska, straight up the middle. Of course, they're missing Corey Schlesinger from a year ago, who was so effective on that play.
Mike, Oklahoma State is starting 2 true freshmen at linebacker, number 54, Josh Green, and number 53, Tabor LeBlanc. Can you imagine what's going through their mind? Math class the other day that they're lost in, and now football 101 Nebraska offense.
Maybe a couple of blanks in there right now. Second and 4 option to the near side for the first time, and Frazier with room to run across midfield into Oklahoma State territory for the first time.
So they're going to give these linebackers, these 2 freshman linebackers, a lot of different looks tonight, a lot of different options. And I can think of a lot of teams. This would be the last team I'd want to start 2 freshman linebackers against because of so many different things they do on offense. You see Tommy Frazier on a couple of different options here early in the game.
And the injured player, cornerback Jeroid Johnson, number 4. It's one of the other downsides to playing Nebraska. They are so physical that usually you get your football team banged up pretty good.
They're a power-type offensive football team. Big offensive line. Let's see what happens here. He's underneath Tommy Frazier. Jeroid Johnson, number 4. Looks like he's all right.
Up and able to go off under his own power.
Mike, when you have a quarterback that runs a lot of options, you know, we talked about Brooke Behringer being the second-team quarterback. You're one play away from replacing that quarterback because the option, you're going to get tagged a lot. So you got to have a good quarterback in the bullpen, and they have an excellent one in Brooke Behringer.
R.W. McQuarters, number 17, comes in to replace Johnson. He is the prize of the freshman recruiting class. Phillips. Loose ball. McQuarters left it loose, and Oklahoma State has it. Tabor LeBlanc makes the recovery. That's what they needed, a break early.
They need a break, and they need to get on the board. They need to make something happen with this turnover. Lawrence Phillips just coughed it up. Ran the isolation to the left side. Good fill by Tabor LeBlanc, and then he comes off the block and is able to recover the fumble. Kevin Williams may have caused that fumble. Tabor LeBlanc with the recovery.
Now let's see if Oklahoma State can do anything with the break. Play action by Jones under a lot of pressure and throws it away. Oklahoma State's offense, Tony Jones will come out for the Cowboys at quarterback. Andre Richardson, his biggest weapon. The Big 8's top freshman last year with Jeff Grenier. Kent Luck, the club's most experienced receivers, played in just 4 games, joined by Terrence Richardson and Mays. And all-conference candidate Brian Hope centers a veteran line. He, Linen, and Waterbury have a combined 54 starts. Thompson is the deep back. And Thompson gets the toss. Nowhere to go. Absolutely nowhere to go. Shoved out of bounds. For Nebraska on defense, Christian Peter, the only returning starter up front, joined by brother Jason. Both Tomich and Wistrom saw significant minutes last year. In the middle, senior Phil Ellis, a Butkus Award candidate, with Foreman and Terwilliger alongside. And Tony Veland, the rover last year, moves over to free safety. Stokes, Williams, and Minter round out a veteran secondary. Big play early in the game here, Mike. 3rd and 15.
You teach your defense sudden change. You got to be ready to go on the field and get the ball back.
3 wide receivers, including number 80, Willie Grissom, the true freshman. Jones on a half roll, and he is swarmed under. Never had a chance. Jared Tomich came roaring in from the outside for the big sack.
It looked like they tried to double him, Mike. Jared Tomich, number 93, the 6'2", 250-pound junior. You're going to see Jeremy Offit, number 70, trying to go out with the tight end, and he just beat him around the corner. But Tony Jones didn't help the play because he continued outside.
They are so quick on the outside, and those defensive end / linebackers come so hard. Lawson Vaughn is the kicker.
Terrell Farley, number 43, a junior college player. He's a kick blocker. Let's see if he can get in there on his first time.
Tyrone Williams is the deep man. Williams from the 25 lost the football, got it back at the 28. 39-yard punt on the muff. They advanced at 3 yards. Timeout on the field. No score at Oklahoma State. That's the fountain at Edmund Lowe Library on campus. Nebraska, with its second possession, starts at the 28-yard line, and their defensive stand after the turnover was huge. Phillips, misdirection. Secondary comes up in a hurry, but Phillips still manages to get out to the 37-yard line.
Mike, so far Nebraska's opened this ball game and trying to affect those freshman linebackers with misdirection. But remember, the biggest weapon they have is the play-action pass with Tommy Frazier. The secondary, you mentioned it, they're coming up fast. And when you come up fast against Nebraska, you're going to leave somebody open on that post pattern.
And there's always been something about the Nebraska play calling. They find a way to get it to the fullback or throw that ball at exactly the right time. Phillips cuts it outside. It appears to have the first down out at the 39. Kevin Williams, the strong side safety, made the tackle on it.
Number 5, Kevin Williams, on the tackle for the Cowboys. Game good for in Nebraska.
Talking to one of the freshman linebackers the other day, Billy Stone at practice, his eyes were big as saucers. He said, I know they're going to challenge us right up inside, and the option makes us think that we're going to be after Nebraska.
Ball was the man in motion. Play action by Frazier. Gets a good block downfield and gets to midfield. Doctor, what do you have?
On the Oklahoma State sideline, we're already beginning to see some platooning in the linebacker core by linebacker coach Brent Guy. Now, you remember he started 2 true freshmen inside, Billy Stone and Tabor LeBlanc. They came out after the first series. They've already seen the option. They've seen the isolation. And now in the ball game, Josh Green, another true freshman, and the senior, Alamu Bailey, who has a sore right shoulder. Now, Bailey has not even practiced much in the preseason, so he probably won't go very long, but he is in for leadership right now on the second series. Mike?
All right, Jerry, they could use some because Frazier already has 37 rushing on 4 carries. He's back to throw this time. Airs it out. Red ball is wide open. He can't get there.
Frazier's pass falls incomplete.
Ball had 5 steps on Trent Fisher, and it was half a step overthrown.
Well, Mike, in 1994, when they won the national championship, 1 out of every 8 completions was for a touchdown. Now, this should have been a touchdown to Reggie Ball, number 7. And the ball is thrown in pretty good shape. It just looks like Reggie Ball just lost his footing. Trent Fisher, number 15, is beaten, but the ball was thrown very well by Tommy Frazier.
Right, it looked like he lost a step when he stumbled. Phillips runs into his own blocker and goes down near the 46-yard line. Norman Williams, who's quite a story as a nose man at 240 pounds, going against that huge Nebraska line, and he hung in there pretty well.
He's 5'10". He's short for a nose guard, but they like to move him, and coaches said don't be fooled by his size. He's very elusive, but he's a wrestler, and wrestlers understand leverage. They understand how to get pad under pad.
He was 280 in a wrestler.
Sumo wrestler.
3rd and 7. Frazier with plenty of time, throws underneath, has his tight end Gilman, and Gilman very close to a first down, just inside the 40-yard line.
Caught him in a blitz. Lewis Adams, the outside backer, number 2, is on a stunt. Mark Gilman wide open against man coverage, and Tommy Frazier is going to put it right on the numbers. Good play call because Nebraska's got good protection against this stunt. You see Mark Gilman working across the field, good protection, good completion by Tommy Frazier. You know, Mike, Nebraska looks a little rusty at the start of the game, but you have to remember in college football, there's no inter-squad games, or there's no, like basketball plays Greece and Yugoslavia, there's no game like that. So this is your first true test under the lights.
Makovica and Bedroll check back into the Nebraska lineup. Tom Osborne with his first national championship a year ago remains the same guy that he's always been. keel. Not too many highs, not too many lows. Frazier on the action, and this time they got him from behind. Nice play by Lorenzo Green, who's been in on a couple of tackles tonight.
Lorenzo Green, number 98, who's 6'2", 270. Coach Ted Gill, the defensive coordinator, said he's the most physical player we have. And you have to do a lot of thinking when you're on defense against the option because you have to play assignment football. Lorenzo Green had the quarterback, Tommy Frazier, made the best of it.
2nd and 10, no gain on the action play. Frazier with time over the middle, complete out of the 28-yard line. Again, his tight end, Mark Gilman, the only tight end with experience on this ball club and only has 18 career catches.
What's happening to Oklahoma State and their linebackers, it's the misdirection again because they're so conscious of the run. Watch Tommy Frazier now. He fakes one way, he moves the other way. Now the tight end comes behind the linebackers. Mark Gilman, the linebacker's sitting in there. Watch the linebackers. See, they're having to sit in there a little bit for the fake, and that's opening the tight end over the middle.
You could almost hear the freshman Josh Green say, uh-oh. Another first down for Big Red. Fullback Makovica stood up at the line of scrimmage. He'll only get a couple.
Freshman Josh Green in on the tackle, and again, Mike, Jerry Punch and I had a nice talk with the three freshman linebackers, and Tabor LeBlanc put it best. He said this is a lifelong dream, but he said I think it happened too quick. He said I was expecting to take a little longer, but he said I'm ready to go. I think what they'll do, they'll settle down a little bit as this game goes along.
Insert number 90, Tim Carpenter, with a two tight end offense, two wideouts, Phillips to a single setback. Frazier with a lot of room. Inside the 10 to the 7-yard line. Finally stopped by Kevin Williams, a gain of 19.
What happens a lot of times against the defense is you have a designed option. As we know, option, the ball can either be kept by the quarterback or pitched. This is a designed run for Tommy Frazier. They're blocking the man who's responsible for the quarterback. Good block by Chris Dishman, number 75.
Nebraska's 7th first down of the first quarter. The numbers on Frazier. 1st and goal. Full house backfield. Phillips on the toss. R.W. McQuarters makes the tackle as he gets inside the 5 to about the 3.
Well, tell us about the initial guys. Go ahead. I know you're waiting for this.
Is you have 4 or 5 guys on the team that go by initials like R.W. or B.J. or a couple of Billy Joes and Bobby Rays, you got a pretty good football team.
Well, I know R.W. McQuarters is a pretty good football player. The first drill they had when they had the freshman week, the perimeter where you throw a lot of passes, he intercepted 4. The first practice, so they knew they had a pretty good defensive back.
I don't think he'll get a shot at one down here. 2nd and goal. Phillips. Touchdown, Nebraska.
The isolation, Mike, in last year where Billy Stone and Josh Green were facing about a 165-pound guard. They're facing Aaron Taylor, 305 pounds, and just a little bit different style tonight. It's a big adjustment from that last high school game to the national championship team.
Phillips, the leading returning rusher in the country. Chris Brown on for the point after. And hooked it wide. This may be the weak link in the Nebraska arsenal, their kicking game, because they have kids with no experience whatsoever. Phillips with the first touchdown of the ball game and the first touchdown of his junior season.
Don't sweat it. Our concession stand also sells an alternative to soft drinks.
6-0 Nebraska. Phillips being congratulated on the sideline. The kickoff went in the end zone, so Oklahoma State will take over at its own 20-yard line. Tony Jones running the club with Thompson and Grenier, his backs. Jones straight back to throw. Thompson delay. Gets out to about the 23-yard line. Thompson last year, 4th in the Big 8 in rushing, had 819 yards.
And Mike, against Nebraska last year, he had 6 attempts for 12 rushing yards. Tough team to run against. Andre Richardson, the other tailback, had 6 attempts for 8 yards. So they give up the rushing yards begrudgingly.
Complete opposite end of what they do when they have the football. Andre Richardson, number 25, is listed as the number 1 tailback, is checking the ball game for the first time. This is Richardson, and he is hit by 5 red and white shirts and thrown back. And Nebraska steals the ball. Tomic comes out with it, but after the whistle.
Like Tony Jones is going to have to make some plays. He has scrambling ability. He's a veteran quarterback. He provides great leadership, but he's going to have to make some plays with his ability in this ball game. He's going to have to scramble for some yardage when pressure comes on him, but he's going to have to hit some passes. The last thing you want to do against this Nebraska team is be 3rd long yardage.
3rd and 6. Oklahoma State could really use the first down just to keep its defense off the field right now. Movement up front, and it was the right guard, Josh Henson, the junior, who moved early.
Start. Down.
Tell you what, Bob Simmons will live with mistakes from his freshmen, but not from juniors.
No, and he's trying to establish a program. He's playing a lot of freshmen. I think sometimes you'd like to have the luxury of redshirting freshmen in your first year in a program where you've lost, to try to build numbers, then go back and get another class of 25, and then you're ready to go.
But he only had 46 guys on scholarship when he came in, so really he didn't have much of a choice.
No, he's up to 76 now, so in pretty good shape now numbers-wise.
Sean Love, number 8, checks in as a wide receiver. He is another freshman on 3rd and 11, but we've got a timeout on the field. 6-0 Nebraska over Oklahoma State.
About 60 miles north of Oklahoma City, the site of that tragic bombing of the Federal Building back in April. Now, when the blast occurred, the coaches were meeting in Gallagher, Iowa behind me, and they said the windows shook and objects fell off the shelves. Now, the student athletes wanted to do something, but what? Well, the next day they thought of what that would be, and they were out in the streets, Hall of Fame Avenue, soliciting from passersby. And in 2 days, they had garnered over $15,000 for the Red Cross Relief Fund to benefit the families of the victims of the Oklahoma City bombing.
All right, Jerry, thanks very much. Great thing for them to do, and the whole state of Oklahoma, along with Oklahoma State University, has really come together to help the bombing victims here. Keep an eye on number 17 for Oklahoma State, R.W. McQuarters. He flanks to the near side. He's the defensive back. They put him in on offense. They want to get him the football. Quick screen is set up. He's got it. Well, McQuarters showed you some speed across the 30 for the first down. Mike, I'd be tempted never to take him out again.
Well, you'd like to play him both ways because he's so talented, but when you see him come on the field, they're going to get the ball to him. Now, that doesn't send a real good signal to your other receivers, but here's a good quick screen to R.W. McQuarters. It opened up in the middle, and a good first down by Oklahoma State. Good call by Les Miles, the offensive coordinator.
Oklahoma State's first down of the game. And before that play, they had minus 11 in total offense. Players jump. Let's see who went first. Looked like Jason Peter, number 95, got the early start. When some of the Oklahoma State players weren't real happy about what the initial indications of what they were hearing.
Like you're talking about the Oklahoma City bombing before the game. They honored all the groups, and the crowd really got into it. I thought that was very nice for all the people that helped out in the aftermath of that bombing. It's a real touching ceremony at the beginning of the game.
It really was, Mike. You're absolutely right. Had the governor, Frank Keating, the mayor of Oklahoma City, Ron Norick, and really praised, as they should, all of the volunteers from not only Oklahoma but all over the country who assisted the bombing victims.
The dedication
When Bob Simmons was really upset about this, the call went against the offense. The new rule this year, defensive linemen jump and make the offense jump. It's a penalty on the defense.
If they get in the neutral zone.
And boy, they were. And that's a bad call against Oklahoma State because Tomich is far past the neutral zone. 1st and 15, though. Jones on the option. Got a couple and no more. Hit from behind by Christian Peter. That kid's 6'3", 300, and he caught Jones from behind.
His brother on the other side, Jason Peter, the coaches, Charlie McBride, defensive coordinator, say they work the hardest in practice. They're the real deal. They know how to play the game, and they practice so very hard. And they pick each other up.
I have a younger brother, Damian, at Notre Dame, who suffered a broken neck in a diving accident. He hopes to be able to play next year. Andre Richardson checks in 2nd and 14. Richardson on the draw, runs into his own man and doesn't get back to the line of scrimmage. Phil Ellis, number 41, in on the tackle.
When you prepare for a game like this, if you're Nebraska against Oklahoma State, you have to go back.
Down, by the way.
Right, you have to go back and look at Michigan film because that's where the coordinator came from. You got to look at Colorado film because Bob Simmons came from there, and you look at a bunch of tape. You look at you practice against about everything you think you're going to see, and then once the game starts, you settle down and get into a game plan.
On the offense.
It's another sign, Mike, of when you take over a new program. Sometimes you don't see the established program making a lot of mistakes here early, but you see the program, Oklahoma State, making some errors. That was called on Andre Richardson, number 25.
Can't get away with that, not in front of everybody. And we remind you that you'll be able to see score updates here on ESPN at 10 after, 30 after, and 50 minutes after each hour. That's no excuse to go away, by the way, but if you do happen to go away and come back, you know when the score updates will be. 2:55 now to go in the first quarter.
Don't want to make a mistake here if you're Oklahoma State and put the ball up for an interception.
3rd and 28, Grenier, the fullback, nothing.
Mike, I like the call, and a lot of people are going to boo that call, but I tell you, when you have a young ball club and your offensive line is not handling the defensive line, you don't want to put it up and give the interception up or get your quarterback killed. Give it to the fullback, punt the ball, and let's play defense.
Lawson Vaughn will go back to the goal line. Tyrone Williams is waiting at his own 45. Excuse me, Greg Ivey, the punter, and Williams waits at his 45. Ivey, last year, a unanimous all-Big 8 choice, averaged 44 yards a kick. That was 9th in the country.
And they use an open formation, Mike, so that their two headhunters, the two wide receivers that are split here, get a chance to get down on the punt returner before he can catch the football.
Terrell Farley, 43, is on the near side. He's the kick blocker supreme, but he's not coming this time. Ivey gets a good but returnable kick. Williams, midfield and floored right there. 49-yard punt, a return of 13. ESPN is your home for college football this Saturday. It all starts with the coach and the pony and hosted by Chris Fowler. At 12:30, Lavelle Edwards brings his Cougars to Colorado Springs for a WAC showdown. Then at 3:30 and 7, catch up on the day in college football on the Residents Inn College Football Scoreboard. Then at 7:30, the Tar Heels welcome Syracuse to Chapel Hill, immediately followed by a wrap of all the news on college football's true opening day.
Looking forward to that Syracuse-North Carolina game. That's going to be a good football game. North Carolina is a very young football team, but an outstanding team led by Leon Johnson, Marcus Jones, and Syracuse, a talented ball club themselves.
Nebraska with the ball at midfield, leading 6-0 with 1:51 to go. First quarter, Mike Patrick, Mike Gottfried, and Dr. Jerry Punch with you. Damon Benny, number 21, the new tailback. Try the sweep. 20 up about 7 yards. Alamu Bailey makes the tackle. He was running behind Adam True, big number 77. it was so well blocked, he had a hard time finding anybody to hit.
Well, you get to hide behind those big offensive linemen. They're 6'4", 300, 6'4", 290, 6'3", 310, and they just kind of hide Damon Benning, who's 5'11", but still 205 pounds.
2nd and 2. Schuster, the fullback, in front of Benning. 2nd and 2. Frazier, option. Benning, first down and more. Inside the 30 to about the 27-yard line. Let's check in with Chris Fowler. Chris?
Guys, a program really on the rise is Central Florida, 1AA team that wants to go to 1A. They've got great individual talent like Marquette Smith, the transfer from Florida State, and he is tearing up Eastern Kentucky, a 60-yard run. A freshman quarterback named Dante Culpepper was 12 for his first 12. Golden Knights had the lead. Guys?
Mike, a lot of people thinks that Dante Culpepper might have been the best player coming out of the state of Florida last year. A lot of people thought he was going to go to Florida. He ended up at Central Florida.
That's all the state needs, another powerhouse football team, isn't it? Benning tripped up in the backfield. Give some credit to Norman Williams, the nose man.
Nebraska is owning first down. Now, that's one of the few times that Oklahoma State has been able to put them in 2nd and long. Good play by Norman Williams, the middle guard.
Boy, is he fighting for air right now.
He's fighting for air and leverage. He wants to get as low as he can with those big linemen. And he's up against Aaron Graham, who 6'4", 275, who Nebraska thinks the best center they've ever had.
Outside of Remington, of course, he may be the best center anybody ever had. Frazier on the option, cuts it inside. People waiting for him, has to dive forward. Nice play by Jamal Williams, number 99, a big-time recruit, a red-shirt freshman, a high school All-American. And that's the end of the first quarter. At least a moral victory for Oklahoma State. They're only down 6-0. Ready to start the second quarter here at Oklahoma State. Nebraska leads 6-0, has the ball at the Cowboy 23, 3rd and 6. Benning, the deep man, he gets the ball, first down and more. Benning pounds to the 10-yard line with Kevin Williams on his back, a gain of 13. Well, 3rd and 6 was no problem, was it?
No, and I'll tell you what, they just lined up and ran the isolation at the linebacker. Just keep your eye on the fullback. He's going to stick the linebacker here. He's going to get a double team on Norman Williams, number 90. There's the double team. Now there's the block by Brian Schuster, number 28, that just opens the hole.
151 to 1 in total offense. Schuster stopped at the line of scrimmage. Let's go to Jerry Punch. Doctor?
Well, if you're keeping score at home and the number of true freshmen starting on defense for Oklahoma State, you can add another one, Jermaine Burdo, freshman out of Lawton, Oklahoma, in for the injured junior Javon Langford. Now, Langford just taken into X-ray a moment ago, and I have been told by Dr. Kerry Couch that Langford has fractured a bone in his hand, the second metacarpal, and they're still undecided whether he'll be able to be taped and get back in, but I doubt we'll see the junior back in. So now 3 true freshmen playing at linebacker for OSU. Mike?
Jerry, it's got to be tough to come back in with a broken bone in your hand because linebackers use their hands so much. Frazier, play action. Has time, tipped and knocked away. Great play, Billy Stone. The freshman got a hand up or it's a touchdown.
Well, you like to see some good things happen for the Oklahoma State freshman linebackers. Billy Stone just made something happen because if he didn't deflect this football, it was a touchdown because Mark Gilman was standing wide open in the end zone. You see Tommy Frazier, here's the throw. Billy Stone leaps up, but you see number 87, Mark Gilman, wide open in the end zone. Very good play by the young freshman linebacker.
You'd think if a guy's 6'4", 240, you'd want to have somebody within a couple of steps of him.
The misdirection again, caught him napping.
Nebraska hasn't missed on a 3rd down yet. 3rd and goal here. Frazier on the option, nowhere to go. Dumped at the 7. Billy Stone again in pursuit, and this may mean we'll see the Nebraska field goal unit.
Another good play by Billy Stone, and when you can stretch the option out, that's what you want to do. Force Tommy Frazier to keep the ball and run sideline to sideline. Do not get turned upfield, and that's what they did that time.
Here's a great statement by Nebraska. Heck with the field goal. We got 4th and 6. We're going to try to get a touchdown. Now they bring on the field goal kicker, Chris Brown.
trying to give him a little confidence and put 3 more on the board.
Remember, he's missed an extra point. But he doesn't miss this one. Brown is true on a 24-yard field goal. And Nebraska extends its lead to 9-0 over Oklahoma State. Back in a moment. Nebraska leading at 9-0 over Oklahoma State. Big crowd of over 45,000 here on hand for our Thursday night opener. Chris Brown to kick it away. R.W. McQuarters, the deep man, waiting at the goal line. And forced back in the end zone again. Nice kickoff by Chris Brown, and they'll have to take over at the 20-yard line. Time for Tony Jones to get something started for this club. What if you were calling the offensive plays? What would you try to do right now, Mike? Nice question.
You got to do the unpredictable against when you're outmanned, and Oklahoma State's outmanned. You got to run when they think you're going to pass, and pass when they think you're going to run.
Richardson is the deep man. Jones with a quick drop gets it out to Luck, and Luck is across the 30. That will be a first down, a gain of 11. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
There were probably those who wanted to question Bob Simmons' sanity as to why he would change a game from the middle of the year and move it to the beginning of the season to play the defending national champion on national television. But we asked Simmons that question. He said one answer: exposure. If we win the game, then our program is setting sail. If we lose or even get blown out, kids watching at home, recruits will say, hey, I can go there and I can be an impact player. I want to go be a part of the rebuilding process. So either way, irrespective of the numbers on the scoreboard, Bob Simmons comes out a winner in the long-range plans for his program.
Jerry couldn't agree with you more as Richardson gets 3, and I don't think there's any doubt that Bob Simmons is going to have a successful program here, not with his background.
Well, he had a good recruiting year last year, and Jerry Punch is talking about the Thursday night exposure. Every team's coaches and players, they like to watch this Thursday night game. Now, this is the first week of the season. Everybody's undefeated except 2 teams have lost those 2 early games. So everybody's excited and really ready to go. So this Thursday night game is a great exposure for Oklahoma State.
4 wideout formation on 2nd and 8. Jones, again, quick set. Luck makes the grab up at the 38-yard line. Luck is the only receiver with any experience. He's only played in 4 career games, and he's just made his first 2 catches.
And it looked like they're working on number 16, Eric Stokes. He's off on the sidelines now. They're pulling him out just a second. He was given a little bit too big of cushion.
And they've got number 20, Michael Booker, is in there right now for Stokes 16.
Yeah, they'll give him a chance to come off the sideline, watch a couple plays, see what's going on, get him back in the ball game.
Jones has now hit 3 out of 4 for 28 yards. And on 3rd and 3, they'd love to keep the drive going. And movement early by a lot of people.
It looks like number 70, Jeremy Offit, he got beat early in pass protection, so he was trying to get a little bit of a jump.
And there's so much difference between 3rd and 3 and 3rd and 8.
More than 5 yards.
Yes, sir.
Dead ball. False start on the offense. Repeat 3rd down.
Mike can do so many more things on defense, 3rd and 8.
Sunday night baseball coming up, 8 o'clock. The Royals against the Rangers. You get a look at Gary Gaetti and Juan Gonzalez, who can just hit it a half mile. John Miller and Joe Morgan coming your way, 8 o'clock Sunday night. 3rd and 8 now for the Cowboys back at the 33. Jones throws it right into the hands of the Nebraska player, picked up by Terrell Farley. Touchdown.
Mike, you mentioned it. When you get that penalty and you go from 3rd and 3 where you can run and pass and you got some options, to 3rd and 8, you want to control the ball and you have to throw it. The penalty set this interception up for Terrell Farley, the junior college player, number 43. And the coaches were telling me the other day at the meetings we have in Nebraska, said he could be the real deal. He can do a lot of things. We just saw him for Tom Osborne run one in the end zone. Supposedly the number 1 junior college recruit of the year, played at Independence Community College and gets his first touchdown. Brown for the point after the interception return of 29 yards.
and you can feel the air going out of the balloon here at Lewis Field. 16-0 Nebraska. So the kick blocker par excellence comes up with a big play on defense. Brooke Beringer warming up on the sideline. It looks like Nebraska's second first-team quarterback will get a chance to play the next time the Huskers get the football. And they brought some fans with them. About 2,500 showed up from Lincoln tonight. And Nebraska looks just about as tough as everybody thought they would. And another booming kickoff from Chris Brown, who's done a great job. And he's had it teed up at the 35. Let's go back to the interception.
Mike, remember the penalty. Now look here. All the three of the linemen are covered, and they're going to run a stunt, and they're going to free up and get pressure on Tony Jones. Then watch number 43, Terrell Farley, make the interception. But because of the penalty, they were allowed to pressure him here defensively. Ball thrown right to number 43, Terrell Farley. Touchdown, Nebraska.
No pace, no arc, no nothing on that throw, and it turns into a 29-yard interception return for a touchdown. Thompson back in tailback. 1st and 10 Cowboys. Thompson will get the carry. Ryan Terwilliger, number 91, met him in the hole and took him back the other way.
And Mike, he's 6'5", 225, and I was reading one of his comments the other day. He said when he played in the Orange Bowl last year, and he said he got the call to go in the game, he said it was so refreshing that everything was the same as we practiced. And I thought that was a great line, because that's what you want to do as a coaching staff. You want to put them in game situations all week, so when they get in it, they feel comfortable.
The guy's got a 37.5-inch vertical jump, which is only about 35 inches bigger than mine. Knocked down at the line of scrimmage, incomplete, and Jared Thomas makes another big play. And Tony Jones appears to have a very slow throwing motion, and that's why people have been able to see what he's up to.
And he's a little low, too, delivering the football. You see when he throws the football, he throws it low, and he gives linemen a chance when their hands up to deflect the football. Mike, you said from the open that emotion is on the side of Oklahoma State. Depth and conditioning look like it's on the side of Nebraska.
And that's a big factor because it's brutally hot down there. It was 94 at game time, and hotter than that on the floor of the stadium. 91 air temperature right now. Draw play, Richardson. Thompson, Thompson 40. Midfield, got a block downfield. Now it's a foot race. Thompson with a chance to the 10, to the 5, to the 2. Tyrone Williams made the saving tackle.
I was talking about, Mike, you do the unexpected. You get in a third and long situation and run a sprint draw and pop it up the middle for a big gain. David Thompson, number 28, into the secondary, and I like the way he weaved his way down the football field, running away from the defensive backs.
78 yards on the carry. That had to be a beautiful thing in the eyes of Bob Simmons.
Tony Jones, I'm sure they'll try to knock it in with a tailback, but where Oklahoma State is dangerous here, too, is they run the option down on the goal line.
Richardson in as the deep back. Richardson gets the toss. Looks like a broken play, and he'll lose a yard. Again, Talmadge is out there on the outside with Terwilliger. Just sort of a double clutch on the pitch.
It almost looked like the fullback and the tailback left at the same time and really didn't provide an avenue to get the ball in for Tony Jones. Good pursuit by Nebraska. Jared Thomas, number 93. I'd be thinking option down here, throwing the football in the end zone. Play action or option with Tony Jones.
Grissom is the single wide receiver far left, covered by Tyrone Williams. Richardson cuts it back. Dive. Touchdown. There is a penalty flag down. And they're pointing and we're
on the defense. Penalty decline.
The Nebraska players were celebrating. They thought it was against Oklahoma State.
Mike, the option play is a neutralizing play down here because goal line defenses like to sink inside. The pitch out to Andre Richardson. Good block by Jeff Grenier, number 6. They're going to pass on the 2-point play here to try to get within 8 and try to kick the extra point.
Lawson Vaughn for the point after, and he gets it. The run by David Thompson of 78 yards set it up. It was the longest run in 7 years for Oklahoma State football and set up the 2-yard plunge that leaves our score at 16-7. Nebraska leads at 16-7, second quarter, 9:53 to go in the half. And finally, something to celebrate for the 45,000 dressed in orange here tonight. Lawson Vaughn to kick off to Reggie Ball and Damon Benning.
Mike, good teams answer the scores of other teams. That's what you strive to do. You want to answer a score of Oklahoma State from Nebraska.
They won't get the chance on this one. Benning lets it hit and then fields it at the back of the end zone. So Nebraska will start at the 20, and Brooke Behringer will have his first shot at playing quarterback in this the 95 season. Mike, how is he different? How do you defense him different?
I don't think they'll do anything different offensively with Brooke Behringer. He's supposed to be the better thrower of the two, although I like Tommy Frazier's improvement in the throwing area. Ted Gill, the defensive coordinator, says sometimes you start to concentrate on the quarterback switch with Brooke Behringer, and you worry so much about him that you let Phillips run wild.
Phillips is the deep man, the single setback. And he'll get the carry, trying to cut it back. Great job of finding the open field, and he may be gone. It's a foot race, and Lawrence Phillips will score 80 yards. You said they have an answer? They did.
Well, you like to answer the score when you're the better football team, or you're going to be a top 25 team. When the opponent scores, you got to come back in the next drive, and you got to answer those points. Nebraska didn't wait long.
Pretty loud answer, too.
And, you know, this play stopped. When you're Ted Gill, the defensive coordinator, they're stopped. When you look at it right there, the play is stopped. There's just a missed tackle by number 98, Lorenzo Green, and then once Lawrence Phillips is in the secondary, he's off and running. Frank Solich, the running back coach, compares him to Rozier. He said he's strong back with good speed. They're going for 2. Nebraska's going to try to go for 2 here.
They're up 22-7. Full house backfield, 2 tight ends. Behringer on the action, wants to throw it. End zone and missed his tight end, Mark Gilman. Gilman had a step on the defender.
You have to remember, Mike, he was sitting on the sidelines now. He wasn't throwing. He didn't work on throwing before he came in, so he's got to be a little bit cold.
Saturday's a big day in college football on ESPN. Our primetime game from Chapel Hill. Syracuse against North Carolina. And, Mike, you got to like Marcus Jones for the Tar Heels.
Marcus Jones may be the best defensive lineman in the country. Last year he played defensive end. You're going to see him sacking the quarterback here. This year they moved him inside so people wouldn't run away from him.
Syracuse and Carolina at 7:30. And don't forget Chris Craig and Lee around all day long, starting with College Game Day at 11:30 in the morning Eastern. Our first game Saturday, BYU against the Air Force.
No, he would have ran right there.
Well, the people questioned Nebraska's high ranking after losing 14 starters. I think you can see they don't miss many of those guys right now.
Well, I think your story of the offensive lineman, I'm going to let you tell that, who didn't play last year and was an All-American.
I got a starter who's a preseason All-American, had never started a game before tonight. McCorders, the most dangerous man Oklahoma State has. Look at this kid run. That's the 27-yard line. He is going to be something for the next 4 years at Oklahoma State. Terrell Farley made the tackle on special teams.
There's the kickoff. You're going to see the wedge form. Now, what you want to do as a running back, just let them take them on. Find a seam, then try to break against the grain, but Nebraska has too much speed. Terrell Farley, the player who made the interception, made the tackle.
So they'll start from the 27-yard line. Thompson, who had the 78-yard run, is the tailback. He'll get it again. Has a seam and dives across the 30 to about the 31-yard line. Appalachian State, holy cow, how about that start of the third quarter?
That's a close in there, too. Marshall's got a good program.
A lot of games on Thursday night, in fact, and we'll keep you updated on everything at 10:30 and 50 minutes after the hour. 2nd and 6, and Oklahoma State with that 78-yard run. Before that, they had -3. Jones, delayed blitz, throws, too hard, incomplete. Tried to get it to Roger Pfeiffer as the backup tight end. And Pfeiffer may have been looking downfield.
Roger Pfeiffer was just running an option play. He's going to go down and just curl in or curl out against the linebacker. Here's the route. He just works downfield. Now he sees him on his outside shoulder, turns inside, but didn't get his head around quick enough to find the football.
3rd and 6 with 8:52 to go first half. The number's on Jones. And he has looked very tentative in this period. Chased out of the pocket and sacked. Nice tackle by Phil Ellis. One of the inside linebackers got him around the ankle and took him down.
What looks like, Mike, is on the outside, the speed of the Oklahoma State receivers. Remember, they're starting 3 freshman wide receivers tonight. They're starting to play a little bit tighter on the wide receivers and starting to pressure Tony Jones a little bit.
Ivy will kick to Reggie Ball, who is the deep man. Checking their protection on the punt team. Play clock down to 2. They get the snap off. Another long punt, but Ball with a chance to return from the 25. And this is something Nebraska has not done particularly well, return punts. They were in the middle of the Big 8 Conference a year ago. 4-yard return there.
That was an excellent punt. You like your punt to hang in the air as long as possible with good depth, and that's exactly what that punt did.
Let's check in with Jerry Punch. Doctor?
Guys, spoke with Nebraska quarterback coach Turner Gill before the game, and they had a plan early on. In the second half, or middle of the second quarter, they were going to put Brooke Behringer in the ball game for 1 series, and then he was going to come back out, and Frazier would play the rest of the game. Well, that 1 series was 1 handoff, so he's back in the game for a 2nd series, guys.
Gary, I'm sure he welcomes the opportunity to play a little bit, too. Benning, his tailback, nice move to get free of the first tackler. Keeps his balance and hustles out to the 33, 34-yard line.
Missed a clip there, Jeff. Jeff Makovic, number 22, blocked in the back there. They missed it. Turner Gill, the quarterback coach. I'll tell you, you have a problem when you got 2 great quarterbacks because you can't stack them on top of each other. There's only one can play. You only have one football, and you try to keep both of them happy. This program keeps guys happier than any program I've seen. Role players, they wait to play their junior, senior year. They do a good job of that in Nebraska.
2nd and 5. Holbein and Cheatham check in as wide receivers. Benning behind Behringer. And he'll run the option. Benning. Nice cutback. First down to the 44, maybe the 45-yard line. He nearly broke it. Trent Fisher made the saving tackle.
The first thing you see in an early ball game is when your team gets tired, they get sloppy. And when they get sloppy, they start missing tackles. Watch Oklahoma State on defense here. Good. They made Behringer, but number 98, Lorenzo Green, just couldn't get straightened up to make the tackle. Looked like he's a little tired.
Benning, 6 carries, 52 yards so far. Nebraska has already rushed for 221 yards here in the second quarter. Behringer wants to throw. Deep for Ball is wide open. He missed it. Well, Reggie Ball has to feel like he's the most fortunate wide receiver in the country. When they throw to him, there's nobody around him.
But he's 0 for April.
And
he hasn't made a catch yet. He just hasn't been. He couldn't keep his footing on the first play, and Brooke Behringer overthrows him here. So, but again, that's the play-action pass because you mentioned the rushing yardage. Safeties know that too. They're going to come up and try to fill quick.
Everybody comes up. 2nd and 10. Benning, good downfield block. And a flag down. It may have been a good downfield hold. G2 Criddle made the tackle. Number 25, John Bedrell, was blocking downfield, and it looked like he had a couple of handfuls of an Oklahoma State jersey. And he did.
John Bedrell's a walk-on that this fall in practice earned a scholarship. He's a walk-on in Nebraska. He's a great special teams player for him. And Mike, you talk about role players. Of the top 81 players at Nebraska, 32 came to school there as walk-ons. Amazing to me. There's the hold by number 25, John Bedrell. Trent Fisher, number 15, trying to get away from him.
Interesting about Bedrell, he played in South Dakota in Gregory. As a junior and senior, he rushed for over 1,200 yards both years. He still had to send a tape to Nebraska just to get a chance to walk on here.
And I look at their roster. There's 180 players on the Nebraska roster right now. You're only allowed to have 120 practice in the early fall till school starts.
2nd and long for Beringer to Phillips in the flat. Makes people miss, gets across the 49-yard line.
So
players just wait to get a chance once school starts to join this football team and be a part of it.
It will be 3rd down and less than 5.
Third down's been an option down for Nebraska. Where
it's been a nightmare for Oklahoma State.
And it has been a nightmare at Elm Street. I don't know what street the stadium's on, but it's a nightmare.
Beringer runs the option. Nobody out there, and he cuts it back. 40, 35, 33. Josh Green makes the tackle. You got to be a little surprised you get to the corner. You figure somebody's going to be there to make you forced to do one thing or another.
Well, they blocked him. That's the load principle. They blocked him. And John Bedrell, who had the holding call just a minute ago, number 25, is going to have the key block. 3rd down has been an option down. You see number 25 with that block John Bedrell made up for the play he was called for holding. He blocked the safety who was coming up to make the play on Brooke Beringer.
Clock stops on the 1st down with 5 minutes and 17 seconds to go in the half. Beringer only 7-0 as a starter. You can hardly criticize anything he's done.
No, and I'll tell you, there's a 3rd quarterback on this team that has played a pretty good part in this success. Matt Turman helped them beat Oklahoma State last year.
They really had to go deep because of those injuries. Here's Beringer under some pressure. Throws back in the flat to Phillips, and he can't hold it. It's a nice play by Josh Green, who diagnosed that play very well. Didn't go with a flow and went back after the receiver.
Well, they put pressure on Brooke Beringer there, and he was able to try to go back and hit Lawrence Phillips. But Josh Green, a freshman linebacker, 6 foot 210, read it perfectly.
Second and 10, Nebraska. Already up 22-7. Beringer getting some playing time here. They go to 3 wide receivers and the I. Beringer gives to his fullback, Makovica. He's down about the 26-yard line.
Norman Williams made the tackle, number 90. You work against the option, you're going to face that fullback. He's the first threat.
Score updates coming in for you, 10:30 and 50 minutes after the hour.
Iowa State down to Ohio U out of the Mid-American Conference. Another Big 8 team playing tonight.
3rd and 5.
Here comes the option.
Bedrell and Holbein are the wideouts. Phillips, little stutter step. 10-5, touchdown Phillips. Those plays are so slow developing, you'd think somebody would be there to stop it, but it's once they break the line of scrimmage, it's over.
Again, I think the defense of Oklahoma State is tired. They're playing sloppy. They're missing tackles. Chris Dishman, number 75, 6'3", 310-pound junior. You're going to see him out here lead the blocking. Lawrence Phillips just cutting up. Everybody runs past him. Number 53, Tabor LeBlanc, just tries to reach back and make the play and can't make the tackle.
Phillips in his first Heisman Trophy salvo, 9 carries, 125 yards, and 3 touchdowns here in the first half. It's not a bad performance on opening night. And it's 29-7. Let's go to Dr. Jerry Punch.
Guys, I'm going to introduce the guy I'm going to have with me on the sidelines most of the year this year. This is Tom, my colleague here to the right side. We're going to have sort of the Tom and Jerry show. But in all seriousness, what we're going to show you is some of the injuries that occurred during a college football game. Now, one of the reasons Oklahoma State's having so much trouble stopping the run is Javon Langford, their junior outside linebacker. He's a force defensively. He went out early with a fractured right second metacarpal. Now, what is that? Basically, it's a broken hand. Let me show you. Here's the right hand, and right here where that spring is, right across there, is where Langford's hand was broken. This bone was actually dislocated and almost protruding through the skin. They went inside, they set the bone, they will splint it, but he should not be back in the game tonight. So that's a little update down here from Tom and Jerry.
Mike? Hey, Jerry, you better tell Tom to lay off the diet.
We went out to eat the other day, and he's always with Jerry Punch. Some people thought he should call him Ben. Ben and Jerry.
That's right. Well, he hasn't had much of the product. Of course, Jerry is a medical doctor, so he carries one of those around in his car.
I think we should get him a hat on. Ben or Tom, whatever we're calling him.
29-7 Nebraska. R.W. McQuarters is the deep man in the 3-man formation. Line drive kick. And taken by Kevin Williams. And Williams can't get back to the 15-yard line. Excellent coverage. Kelsey downfield makes the tackle on special teams.
Mike, it's interesting, the quarterback rotation in Nebraska working tonight because they've got a far superior football team. It'll be interesting when they get into a close football game of how that works for them. And next week they play Michigan State, and I think Michigan State's going to be the surprise of the Big Ten. I think they've got 3 tough ball games. Michigan State's going to be the first one for them. It'll be an interesting game at East Lansing.
Oklahoma State takes over deep in its own territory. Thompson is the tailback. Jones runs the option. Nowhere to go and just tried to run over Octavius McFarland, and McFarland wasn't having any of it.
Took too long to develop, just like my sentence there, as he's gone to the sideline there. When you string the option out and make them run laterally, you have no play. Octavius McFarland, number 4, has time to read it from his free safety spot to make that play.
There was only one D in development.
Yeah.
3:44 to go in the half. 2nd and 9, gain of a yard. They sent 2 wide receivers to the near side. Jones, pressure from Tomic, and he got him again back at the 3. The 3rd sack for Nebraska, and Tomic has been a terror in the backfield.
Well, the interesting thing I'm thinking about right here now, at 3rd down, I figure Oklahoma State's going to run the ball here. You're going to watch Tony Jones fake, but Nebraska is not reading the fake at all. Gerard Tomic, number 93, makes the play, but I think Oklahoma State will run the football. Now, who comes back in at the quarterback position? Does Tommy Frazier return now after 2 series?
That would be the game plan. I don't think at this point it makes much of a difference to you.
No, but it does.
To them.
As you follow this season along, the number of plays they're going to get in the ball game.
And Frazier's got to be thinking, I worked hard to get the number 1 spot. I want the majority of the snaps.
And I want to play. I want to be on the field.
Sure. Timeout, 2:50 to go, first half. The Cowboys, when we come back, will be facing 3rd and 20. All right, Chris, thanks very much. Looks a little cooler in the studio.
Guys get the air conditioned all the time.
Oklahoma State facing a 3rd and 20 from its own 4-yard line, down 29-7. To Nebraska. Cornhuskers come in as a 4-touchdown favorite. Thompson on the draw. And Nebraska waiting for it this time. Jeff Ogard, number 97, makes the tackle.
Nebraska has all 3 timeouts. They're going to use one right now with 2:41 the clock. So now we'll see how their 2-minute offense has developed.
Strap on your headgear. They're working out the final kinks in the season premiere of College Football Game Day. Craig James and Lee Corso will join Chris Fowler once again for all the hard-hitting stories of the first big weekend of college football, including life in Miami under new coach Butch Davis, Illinois linebacker Simeon Rice, and what's up with the new celebration rule? What is up with that?
I tell you what, Mike, I think it's a good rule. Really, 2 years ago, we had a lot of fighting in college football. Last year, they said, okay, if you fight, you're going to be suspended for 2 games. We didn't have any fights. Celebration rule, they may have went a little bit too far, but I like it. It's a team game. I don't think people should be celebrating out on the football field. I enjoy the rule. I'm one for it.
As long as they stop the taunting, I don't care what else it does. If they can stop that, more power to them.
I thought that Lee Corso should have been penalized there for that little...
for a bad run.
Bad run, and he threw his hands up. He celebrated a little bit too soon also.
Greg Ivey to kick it away, and Reggie Ball waits at his own 45-yard line.
Here's where you come after the punt here. Keep your eye on Terrell Farley, number 43.
Already has an interception return for a touchdown. They get a block on him from the outside. Very high but short kick, and takes a Nebraska bounce. Will be down at the 34-yard line. A punt of only 29 yards. And this is from the all-Big 8 punter.
Off affects Tommy Frazier. I wouldn't think he'd miss a beat. Take a look at the number of plays. Tommy Frazier, 26 snaps. Brooke Behringer, a little bit less.
Frazier with plenty of time to throw. Deep over the middle and nearly picked off. Trent Fisher got his hands on it.
Took a little bit too long to throw the football. Tommy Frazier was waiting for his receiver to clear. Trent Fisher should have picked that one off. Tommy Frazier with the little fake to his tailback. Damon Benning, he just takes too long, and he stares down the receiver and threw a little bit behind him. John Bedrow, number 25.
Nice play by Fisher to get up there and break it up. Benning is in the backfield on 2nd and 10. Frazier with the option. Cuts it back. There's a lot of room out there if he can get a block. And now OSU swarms over him and brings him down at the 33-yard line. Nice pursuit that time.
Good pursuit by Oklahoma State. Adam True, the right tackle, number 77, was able to come back and help Tommy Frazier for a moment. Force him in a 3rd and long situation. This may be 2-down territory for the Nebraska offense with 1:58 to go.
Full house backfield. Now they split them out. Holbein and Ball. Frazier ball, day to throw. It's got his tight end, Mark Gilman, and Gilman has a 1st down gain of 11. So if you have all day to throw, you can't stop.
And that was a delayed pass. Again, working on the inside linebackers. Mark Gilman blocked 1001, 1002, and then released into the inside. You're going to see him here. Block, block, block. Let the linebackers clear. Now you get right behind him. Tommy Frazier waits for the right time, throwing the football. Completion, move the chains, 1st down.
Gilman has 3 catches tonight for 31 yards out of his tight end slot. Fullback Schuster. Schuster breaks it down to the 10, 5 to the 2. Brian Schuster, the junior from Fullerton, California.
Missed tackles again, Mike. You can't be on the field as long as Oklahoma State's been on the field with this young football team. Trent Fisher, the safety, number 15, missed the tackle on Brian Schuster, and Nebraska's knocking on the door again. Just so many weapons they come at you with. Here's the give to the fullback. Now watch the missed tackles. There's a missed tackle right here. You just can't miss those against a good football team.
Back to the live action gain of maybe a yard as they go straight up the middle. It'll be 3rd and 1 as Benning can't get in. And Nebraska uses its second timeout with 1:03 left in the half.
So dangerous down here in Nebraska, what they can do to you. They can power you and run right at you with the tailback and lead the fullback, Brian Schuster, on the linebacker. They've got the option threat of Tommy Frazier, where you're trying to drive all your defensive players inside. And there's always the play action pass off of the fake, the run.
We talked earlier about the timing, the way Nebraska makes its calls and seems to find the right calls, maybe more than other teams. Some people just have a feel for that, and they know what to call and when to call it.
I think their offense, Mike, if I was going to design an offense in college football right now, I think what Nebraska does puts more pressure on defenses than any other offense in the country, because they got the power, they got the big offensive line. As I said, the threat of the quarterback running the option, the fullback dive, the pitch, and the play-action passing game. To stop Nebraska, say it however you want to say it, you must stop the run. You must force them to throw the football. Easier said than done.
Absolutely. They only have 301 yards rushing in this half. Benning behind Schuster in the eye. Frazier on the option. Cuts it in. Touchdown, Nebraska. Made it look easy, didn't he?
Certainly did. Again, the option's so tough on goal line defense. Reversed out, just wasn't even touched. And you watch Nebraska, they took the touchdown, came right off the field. There's no celebrating. It just, that's what they expected to do, get in the end zone.
35-7 Huskers. Chris Dishman with a great lead block almost all night from his left tackle spot. Chris Brown for the point after, knocks it through, and the score rises to 36-7 Nebraska.
Talking about Chris Dishman, number 75, he made the key block on this touchdown. 1 yard out, Tommy Frazier fake to the fullback. Now Brian Schuster becomes a blocker. Good block by Chris Dishman in the end zone. But Chris Dishman this summer was reading the media guide, the Nebraska media guide, and he saw where he was an All-American second-team preseason by a magazine. He went out and bought the magazine. He didn't even know he was a preseason All-American.
How could he? He'd never started a game before.
They got a lot of respect for the left tackle,
yes,
no matter who it is at Nebraska.
That's the legend of Nebraska. Of course, they got to see him an awful lot last year, because if you're a Nebraska reserve, you get to play an awful lot, maybe as many downs as most starters at other schools with their offense.
Everybody thought they'd have a dropout in the offensive line this year, and I went out in the spring and watched them. They may not be as tall as last year's group, but when you center everything around Aaron Graham, who is the center, they've built a pretty impressive offensive line.
Nebraska scored 30 here in the second quarter. R.W. McQuarters waiting on the kick. Takes it 4 yards deep. He wants to bring it out. Great move by McQuarters. Look at this kid go. 30, 35. Well, I'd like to do a couple more Oklahoma State games in the future just to watch R.W. McQuarters. Coming up at halftime, we'll have Chris Fowler, Lee Corso, and Craig James. They'll be reporting on the Donut Bowl with Iowa State. Miami against UCLA, a preview of that one, and the halftime blitz. So stay with us at halftime for all that. And McQuarters is an exciting-looking kid, isn't he?
Well, he is. He's an outstanding young athlete.
51 seconds to go in the half. Let's see what Tony Jones will choose to do. Wants to throw, has time, throws underneath, incomplete, in and out of the hands of Sean Love. He was hit by Mike Minter, the young man who was hurt early last year, and it's just a tremendous safety and back in there as a senior.
You're talking about R.W. McQuarters, the safety, and the reason he made his decision to come to Oklahoma State is they said he could play basketball for Eddie Sutton. He loves basketball. A lot of teams won't let a player play two sports. I always thought it was great to let him play two, but that's the reason they got him here at Oklahoma State. Promised him that he would be allowed to play basketball.
Jones throws and through the hands of Kent Luck, who had made 2 good catches earlier. That was one of the concerns coming in for Tony Jones, the offensive coaches. He only had 1 guy who had ever been in a college football game as a receiver.
I think they're going to have to use R.W. McQuarters on offense. Just looking at their ball club, they need a threat on the outside, somebody to be able to get the ball to. They got a lot of young receivers out there, but I think you're going to find that he's going to end up playing a lot more on offense in the games to come.
I'll tell you what, he lights up the crowd when he gets his hands on it. And there was no doubt he was taking that kickoff out of the end zone. 3rd and 10. They go with the draw. Thompson. Nice, tough run to stay on his feet and get out of the grasp of Scott Saltzman, the junior from Wichita Falls, Texas.
Tom Osborne may feel he's had enough here in the first half because he's letting the clock go. He's still got 1 timeout left.
Play clock is sitting at 0, so obviously it was under the game clock. And they're just going to let time run out. And Tom Osborne right now doing the merciful thing, leading 36-7 here against Oklahoma State. Pretty classy move, I thought, by Tom Osborne. Big first half for the Nebraska offense. The ground game up and running in the first game of the season. And at the half, it's Nebraska 36, Oklahoma State 7. Let's go to Chris Fowler.
Nebraska. Here Tony Jones going back to pass. Terrell Farley, number 43, man on the back, just sitting in the throwing lane, picks the pass off for a touchdown. A little later in the ball game, Lawrence Phillips, who fumbled on the first play time he ran the football. Now he's going to find a hole, break into the secondary for another long run against Oklahoma State. They've had their way with the big plays. 7 plays of over 15 yards in the first half. And Mike, you cannot stop Nebraska if you give them the big play over 15 yards. They're just too explosive. They'll wear you down.
And normally the bad news for Oklahoma State here would be is normally the second half belongs to Nebraska after they already own the first half because they do wear you down so much.
Well, when they travel on the road, they only have 60 players, so they're just got to keep coming at you.
Halftime stats, you see the total dominance, the rushing yards. Remember, they had 1 rush of 78 yards, so they have -11 outside of that play, and it's just been a nightmare on offense.
First downs 15-3. Oklahoma State cannot control the football and keep their defense off the field.
Brown to kick to McQuarters, and R.W. with a chance from the 1. McQuarters pounds his way over the 25 to the 26. Let's go to Dr. Jerry Punch. Jerry?
Guys, at halftime in Oklahoma State locker room was more like a classroom. He's got a very, very young ball club, and Bob Simmons said, you know, you're only going to get better when you play against the best, and they're going to get awfully good tonight because they're playing against the best or one of the best in college football. The big concern for the first half was the fact defensively they were not tackling. They were making very inexperienced mistakes by overrunning the football and allowing the speedy Nebraska offensive backs to cut it back and run it long. Mike?
And, Jerry, they did exactly that. Thompson and Grenier will start in the backfield behind Jones. Play action. Jones throws long. McQuarters can't get there. Well covered by Eric Stokes, the left corner.
Well, when they bring R.W. McQuarters into the ball game, you're going to see him run off the field. Now, he's the target. The first play, they brought him in. They threw the quick screen. Now they try to hit him on a streak. But I think eventually, as this season goes along, you're going to see number 17, R.W. McQuarters, on offense a little bit more because it gives you a big weapon. Good play by Eric Stokes. McQuarters was behind him. Ball gets thrown a little bit more air under it. It's a touchdown.
Andre Richardson checks in at tailback. Jones started 3 for 4 throwing, but has missed his last 6, including an interception. Moving along the offensive line, it may have been Alonzo Mays, the tight end, who moved first.
Everybody points. Defensive guys pointing, offensive guys pointing. Officials are pointing.
Offside. On the defense.
On Nebraska.
Repeat second down.
So Oklahoma State gets a free 5.
Second down.
and a rare penalty for Nebraska. They just don't make many mistakes. They don't give you anything.
Charlie McBride, defensive coordinator with the headsets on, has to be proud of his defense, the way they're playing in their initial game this season.
2nd and 5. Jones wants to throw. And the flag, Mays, there's a flag down. Mays steps out of bounds around the 45. We'll check the penalty. Mays a big kid, 6'6", 252.
Good target, too, with that 6'6" frame.
The officials talking this one over.
Looks like Oklahoma State feeling a little bit like the pressure's off them. They're behind 36-7, playing a little bit more loose here in the early going of the second half.
And you know, Bob Simmons is a coach. I mean, every coach, you've been in this position, you've got to give your kids something to shoot for, some way to get better.
What you have to do, Mike, is you have to show them the film and show them good signs of what's happened.
Dead ball foul, illegal procedure on the offense, no play.
And what you do, you tie together the tape and you show them, here we did some good things in this first quarter. We did some good things in the second quarter. And eventually strive to get a half, a third quarter, and then finally you'll play a good game. But when you've lost for so long, the self-image is defeated, and you've got to build that back up, and you've got to keep talking and coach positive.
He may not be able to find anything in the second quarter that he could reference as we did this well in the second quarter.
No, but he'll find some good individual efforts, and if you can get everybody playing up to that level, then you get a championship play, and you can take it to 2 plays, 3 plays, 4 plays, and so on.
2nd and 10 after the exchange of penalties. Jones, quick set. Tomic blocks it again.
Had to have a breakdown in pass protection there because Jared Tomic came right in from the outside. Nobody on him, but again, the low release point where Tony Jones throws the football, he's going to get some knocked down. He's 5'10", right in that area, but he throws the ball low. His release is low, so he's going to get some balls batted down all year.
And you get a pretty good idea of where he's going to. He locks on the receiver. There are his numbers. Hit 3 of the first 4, and he has struggled since then.
He hasn't had a running game to go with his passing game, so obviously the play action's not as good tonight.
Draw play. Richardson gets it out to about the 29-yard line, but still 7 yards shy of a first down.
On third down, it's like Oklahoma State is conceding third down. They don't want to get themselves in bad situation. They know their pass protection's not good right tonight. Tony Jones a little shaky, but hey, when you're behind 36-7, you got to open it up a little bit more. I mean, you got to forget running on third down and start throwing the football.
Ivy is on to kick to Reggie Ball. Ivy has averaged 41 yards a kick on 4 kicks tonight. Last year, he was 9th in the country, 44 yards a punt. Farley nearly got there.
Almost got that one.
And he almost got there even though he was blocked on the play. He's got a knack for getting in there. This time an Oklahoma State roll, and it goes down to the 23-yard line. Punt of 48 yards, no return. 36-7, Nebraska. He has him here with Pistol Pete and a crowd of about 45,000. But the hope of an upset is gone with Nebraska leading 36-7, 13:38 to go third quarter. Lawrence Phillips is back in there at I-back. Frazier is the quarterback. Phillips cuts it outside. Excellent pursuit. Lorenzo Green, number 88, and Tabor LeBlanc makes the tackle. Let's go to Jerry Punch. Doctor?
Guy spoke with Osborne at halftime, Tom Osborne, about the first half of the Cornhuskers. I asked him, is there anything at all he didn't like? He said, not really. He was very pleased overall with the performance. He said that, in fact, we'd probably come out in the second half and keep Tommy Frazier in the ball game. He said, we're going to see Behringer some, maybe even Turnbull some, but he wants Frazier to get some snaps. Remember, he only played 3 games last year in the regular season, plus the Orange Bowl, so he'd like to get some experience, possibly throwing the football.
Jerry, that's a good point with the little that he played last year. Here he throws, and he's got ball open down the sideline. Ball does a tightrope act, and he's gone. Beat Johnny Jones, the most experienced corner and the best cover man.
Well, Jerry said it. The reason you keep Tommy Frazier in is, and I think we may have our first celebration call here, but I think the reason you keep Tommy Frazier in is to throw the football. You're ahead by a big margin, but this quarter is your throw in the quarter. You want to throw the football in this quarter because you don't want to wait till the fourth quarter when you're way ahead. Tommy Frazier on play action, faking the option, read some trouble early in the game. He doesn't have any trouble here. Gets behind Johnny Jones.
Jones got
the ball off to the races.
Jones got caught looking at the quarterback.
Well,
and the receiver went right by him.
He's thinking option. He's thinking all of a sudden I'm going to come up and make a play on the option.
They should have been thinking 76 yards because that's how far that one went. And it's 42-7.
The problem with working on your passing game is if you throw a touchdown on the first pass play, you don't get a whole lot of work on it.
Well, it's up to the defense to do something about that. And I think we are. There was a flag down, and it has been picked up, and I haven't heard anything about it.
I think it's the first celebration call on ESPN.
I'm sure to be followed by many. Chris Brown with a point after, and it's 43-7. Reggie Ball, 76-yard and a 15-yard penalty for the... Welcome back to Stillwater, Nebraska with a big lead. And since 1987, through the Scholar Athlete Award Program, American Honda has recognized outstanding students for their athletic and scholastic achievements. This year, ESPN will present the winners during each of our Thursday telecasts. Tonight, recipient, center Aaron Graham of Nebraska, senior majoring in animal sciences with a 3.328 grade point average. Honda proud to donate $3,000 to Nebraska's General Scholarship Fund on behalf of Aaron Graham. R.W. McQuarters with a kickoff return out to the 24.
I said I liked the celebration rule, but I didn't like that call. I think there's a judgment in there, and I think that was a poor call.
I mean, that was hardly an outrageous celebration, was it?
That was hardly at all, and he raised his hands, and
I mean, can't a kid get excited at all about scoring on a 76-yard touchdown pass?
Not allowed to. But I think there's a middle road on this. I said I like the rule, and I really do, but I don't like this call. He stuck his hand to the crowd, and that's the reason he got it.
Oklahoma State starts over at its own 24. Jones has another one knocked down at the line of scrimmage by Jason Jenkins. Let's check in with Chris Fowler. Chris?
Guys, the big story in baseball tonight. Rocky Colavito, the last American leaguer to hit 4 home runs in a game. New York's Paul O'Neill has 3. In his 4th at bat, a base hit, rubbing in his 8th run. Yankees lead comfortably. Highlights on SportsCenter, and then baseball tonight at midnight. Mike?
All right, Chris, thanks. Rocky Colavito. I remember him hitting some dingers.
You remember when he was traded to Detroit? Harvey Keene, I think, came over for the big trade on
All-Star
Rocky.
shortstop.
He wore number 6, right fielder for the Indians, had a gun for an arm.
Didn't he ever? Moving up front. And a loose ball. No whistles yet. When you don't hear a whistle, there were too many guys standing around.
What you teach the quarterback is that, and you teach the center, if you see somebody in the neutral zone, snap the football, catch him in there, but the play was not called. So now you end up with a bad play.
The center of the Nebraska line jumped, and the ball was snapped, and then it was fumbled.
The worst down you can be in against Nebraska, 3rd and 10. Just not had any success, but they have run the football on most 3rds and 10s. They have to throw the football here.
Jones throws in the flat. Grenier can't get to it. You said 3rd down was the worst to play against Nebraska. I wouldn't be too thrilled with 1st and 2nd either.
Well, not tonight. Not tonight. It hasn't been a good down on any play. Both sides of the ball. Bob Simmons, his opener tonight, not going the way he'd like it, but he knows his future's ahead. Got a young football team.
And I think the people around here know they have to be patient with this. You can't do it overnight no matter who you are. Ivy's 6th punt. Nebraska has yet to get any significant return yardage out of it. Beauty this time. Reggie Ball driven all the way back to the 25. Excellent coverage brought down in his tracks. Jeroy Johnson, the corner, came down to make the tackle. Big day of college football on Saturday. Our early game at 12:30 Eastern. BYU against the Air Force. And coach, for BYU, everything at quarterback except major college experience.
Steve Sarkisian, 6'2", 200 pounds, played at El Camino Junior College, 41 touchdowns, but now he's going to have to take it up a level, and he's got a tough start against Air Force. I like Air Force this year. They've got a nice football team, and when you get an experienced quarterback in those first 2 weeks of the season, you got a chance against them.
Phillips is the I-back. Frazier on the option. Phillips gets the toss. Dances inside the sideline, and now they're going to say he's out of bounds. Well, a couple of inches, and he's gone. Nifty cutback.
Tommy Frazier waited to the right time to pitch the ball to Lawrence Phillips. Only the sideline stopped him from going a longer way. I still think this is going to be a series. As you see Lawrence Phillips tonight, 11 rushes, 134 yards, 12.2 average. But I think this is going to be a series that Tommy Frazier throws the football.
Frazier with plenty of time to throw deep over the middle and too high for Holbein, who was open.
What made that play? The ball handling of Tommy Frazier. And again, watching him in the spring, he has taken a lot of pride in his ball handling, his passing. Now, that was a little high right there. Bad pass, probably the first bad throw he's had tonight.
Would you agree with the assessment that Frazier is a better runner of the option and Behringer is the better passer?
I think Tommy Frazier is the better quarterback. I think he presents you a lot of problems. He's a complete package. Not that the Brooke Behringer is not a good quarterback. He is a very good quarterback, but Tommy Frazier fits this offense a little bit better.
Makovica keeps his balance. Midfield. Throws an arm at a tackler and gets down to the 32. Makovica with a nice run.
Mike, he played 8-man football at East Butler High School. A tremendous worker. He came to Nebraska as a walk-on tailback. They told him that they didn't feel like he had enough speed to be a tailback. They moved him to fullback, and here he is starting in the first game of the '95 season. Good running ability here. Tried to use the straight arm, get out of bounds. Good run.
Pretty good balance for a fullback. In his career, he's been stopped once behind the line of scrimmage. And that's the 9th Nebraska play of 15 yards or better. Frazier on the pass option throws complete. Holbein has it down at the 24-yard line. Jerry, let's go to the doctor.
Guys talking about Tommy Frazier, what a difference a year makes. I talked with Turner Gill, the quarterback coach, said last year in the early years, Tommy Frazier used his arm strength. He would go back and was very nonchalant about the pass routes and would use his arm strength to try to force the football. This year in the spring, Tommy concentrated on making his reads and backed off on not forcing the football and has learned to throw the touchdown.
Phillips, 10, 5-yard line, Nebraska. And, Mike, you have to feel the Oklahoma State defense is just whipped out there right now.
They're wore down. I mean, they now are catching people on defense. They're catching blocks. They're missing tackles. And as I said before, though, that we started this thing, those freshman linebackers will eventually be good football players, but they're not ready for this attack tonight. If you face one attack that's toughest to defend, it'd be Nebraska for a young freshman linebacker.
First and goal, Nebraska already leading at 43-7. Frazier on the roll. Stops, sets, throws, touchdown. Vedral, the wingback, came across and was wide open, and Frazier throws for the score.
Just about a week ago. He was a walk-on, did such a good job in fall practice. Tom Osborne rewarded him with a scholarship, and now he has a touchdown reception to boot. Misdirection play against the linebackers again in the secondary. Fake to Lawrence Phillips. You see how it opens up the middle. John Vedral, number 25, just sits down in that open hole in the zone and catches the touchdown pass.
Chris Brown, who must be getting leg weary, on for the point after, knocks this one through. And the wind went out of the Oklahoma State sails in the second quarter. 50-7 Oklahoma State, 9:59 to go in the third quarter. In the last 18 minutes and 10 seconds, Nebraska has scored 44 points. R.W. McQuarters at the 6. One of the few bright spots for this ball club. Breaks a couple of tackles, fights for yardage, and gets up to the 28-yard line. Let's go to Jerry Punch. Doctor?
Guys are talking about Tom Osborne trying to repeat as a national champion for the Cornhuskers. Well, I've got a guy who did the same thing a couple of years ago. A special guest joining us from his home in Tallahassee, Florida. Florida State head football coach Bobby Bowden. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Hey, glad to talk to you.
You know, you got to sympathize with Tom Osborne. You know, when you win a national championship, does it get any easier, or do the expectations just get that much higher?
Once you win it, your people expect you to win it every year. It's as simple as that.
David Thompson in at tailback. Jones throws over the middle and complete for a first down out at the 41 to Alonzo Mays. Bobby, when you're watching this ball game, what impresses you so far about Nebraska?
Some things never change. One of them is Nebraska. They never change. I mean, they're just always good. I think they probably got as solid a football program as there is in the country. You know, they're always good.
All right, Bobby Bowden's going to kindly stay with us for a while. Jones gives it off to Thompson. Thompson drags a tackle with him near midfield. Larry Arnold, number 23, made the tackle.
Bobby, I thought Danny Cannell last year improved more than any quarterback I saw last year from game 1 to game 12. How's he performed here early in the fall?
I think he's performed real well. He's making throws now that he wouldn't even attempt this time a year ago because he's gained so much more confidence. It seems like last year, about this time of the year, he was throwing the ball around the receivers. Now he's throwing it to them, and he's looked good so far.
Go on the ground, try to get the first down, and get near the 49-yard line before he's pushed down David Thompson.
Hey, Coach, we're going to have you coming up beginning of November, Thursday night, November 2nd, on our Thursday night football against a very, very good Virginia club. You had to shiver a little bit when you saw what they did up in Ann Arbor.
Well, I was very impressed. It was an amazing ball game, a game that looked like Virginia just dominated for 3 quarters, and then lost a little momentum, and then, of course, Michigan did what they were capable of doing. I'm sure that Virginia didn't expect to see 52 passes out of a freshman quarterback. And it looked like to me the big difference is Virginia, at the end of the game, had nothing left to rush the passer, and that gave that young man a little too much time.
That's always a good game, Coach. Florida State and Virginia. We'll have it this year on Thursday night at Charlottesville, so we look forward to seeing you up there, Coach.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. I hope you keep the weather warm in November. That's all we worry about that.
Hey, Coach, thanks for joining us, and good luck to you on Saturday.
Hey, thank you. We'll see you later here.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Jerry. Must have a pocket full of quarters down there on the sideline. Incomplete. Intended at the sideline for Terrence Richardson, the freshman. The brother of Andre Richardson, the tailback. Associated Press top 5. Florida State with a slight edge on Nebraska, and as Mike mentioned, they'll be playing at Michigan State next week. Then Texas A&M, Penn State, and Florida. Do you have any quibble with any of those first 5?
Well, yes, I do. And Bobby's off the phone now, and but I know that him watching this Nebraska team, I still think Nebraska should be won because they won it last year. Got enough players back this year, impressive football team. They should be won until they're defeated.
Jones airs one out. Love fell down, and it's intercepted. Picked off by Leslie Dennis. Sean Love had a step on him and tripped, and the crowd thought it was because of contact.
I think it's a good no call. I really
do,
because I think their feet got tangled up. Leslie Dennis, the cornerback for Nebraska, Watch it here. I don't think he interfered with him. No, I think he just fell down. I think good call, Mike.
Sean Love, two-time All-State, a prep All-American. Beringer comes in to run the offense from the 5. That could have been 7 points for Oklahoma State. And they'll go with a third-string tailback, James Sims, maybe the fastest player on the team, an explosive I-back who is 24 years old and a sophomore.
Mike, you're talking about that top 5. The only other team I think that probably has a claim to be in the top 5 and has a chance, I think, to win the national title is Auburn. I think they got a very good schedule, very solid offensive line. Stephen Davis, the tailback. So another an exciting football team. That's right.
And a guy with a pretty good record as a young head coach. 2nd and 10. Schuster is the fullback. Sims the tailback. Schuster gets it on the quick handoff and takes it out to about the 8-yard line.
On the stop, number 90, Norman Williams, and 98, Lorenzo Green.
Score updates for you, and we'll always have them on Thursday night at 10 after, 30 after, and 50 minutes after the hour. And now North Carolina State starting to lengthen it out. Ohio University.
Third
Big
down.
game for them.
Dan McCarney starting his coaching career tonight at Iowa State. Former assistant to Barry Alvarez behind the Mid-American team from Athens, Ohio.
Lance Brown, number 14, checks in as the wide receiver. Beringer throws over the middle, in and out of the hands of his tight end, Mark Gilman, who went down to the turf trying to make the grab.
This is something you haven't seen much tonight. The Nebraska punt.
Hey, that was 3 and out. We haven't seen that one at all. Jesse Cush, the punter, may be the most rested guy on this roster. He's not going to have to do much all year long. He's a sophomore from Columbus, Nebraska, with no experience. Andre Richardson is back to receive inside the 50. And now Nebraska's going to have to use the timeout. They had a player late coming onto the field. There's Tom Osborne, the dean of coaches in this conference with 23 years. And here are the new ones. McCarney at Iowa State, Bob Simmons, of course, here at Oklahoma State. Rick Neuheisel, it was between Simmons and Neuheisel for the Colorado job, and Howard Schnellenberger at Oklahoma. And I'll make a prediction for you that in 3 years, Howard Schnellenberger will have Oklahoma competing for a national championship. The man can coach.
I like this football team this year. Last year, they had a lot of talent. I like their chances this year. They got a pretty good schedule. They've got to play Nebraska at Nebraska. They get Colorado at home, and wow, look at it. They even got his name, all the letters in it here tonight. So, but I like Howard Schnellenberger. He's a fine coach, and I like his football team. Got some talent.
Had some pretty good teams at Louisville, too. Had injury problems, it seemed, every year when they had a chance to really make a breakthrough.
In Colorado, still has a lot of talent back. Coy Detmer, quarterback. They'll make some noise.
Cush drives Richardson way back, and then the punt coverage teams get down and bury him.
What do you expect? He's rested. Hasn't kicked since pregame warm-up.
Sunday Night Baseball, as the season winds its way down and we work into the playoffs, you'll see the Royals against the Rangers. John Miller and Joe Morgan will bring you the action from Texas. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific. Join us for that as baseball really gets interesting now with the new playoff format. Jones takes over near his own 35, gives off to the fullback. Grenier didn't have a chance. His blocking was stuffed back in the backfield. Luther Harden, number 58, was in there. A lot of the backups playing for Nebraska now. The starters may be done, even on defense. And the thing about Nebraska, when they go to their second team, they don't seem to drop off here.
A lot of depth. This Nebraska team and Bobby Bowden's Florida State team have probably the most depth of any team I've seen the last 3 years.
comes the blitz. Jones under pressure, throws in the flat, and completes the pass to Andre Richardson, who's the leading returning receiver on this club. He caught 12 a year ago. Nobody else back on the roster had caught more than that.
Good pass protection by Oklahoma State. Tony Jones against man coverage was able to get the football to Andre Richardson against the safety who had him man-to-man, Octavius McFarland. Last season, he had 12 receptions for 97 yards. Good reception on the last play.
And they stopped the clock to bring in the change to see if they have a first down out at the 43. One thing that has really hampered Oklahoma State, the probation that hit them under the previous administration, one of the penalties was a cut in scholarships, and when that happens, your program's really dead in the water, isn't it?
It really hurts, and I really believe the NCAA has to modify the rules. Number one, I think they should have regional offices. Have 5 regional offices around the country so that if a case comes up, a regional office can handle it right now. The cases now, they take 2-3 years to solve them. And the other thing, rather than penalizing a team and saying you can't go to a bowl game or you're going to lose scholarships, fine the university $2 million. But why should a guy like R.W. McQuarters or Tony Jones be affected by something that happened 3 or 4 years ago? It's just crazy. I mean,
I think it's a great point.
They live in the antiquated rules, and they should be changed.
A voice crying in the wilderness.
Just not going to be changed and should be changed. Just take too long for a case.
3rd and inches, quarterback keeper, and they'll have the first down. Let's check in with Chris Fowler. Chris, what do you have?
We've got the wild game of the night, Mike. Eastern Kentucky and Central Florida in Orlando. The Colonels are trying to come back. This is William Morrell's 2nd touchdown run of the night. Just about 2 minutes to play. Central Florida, which plays Florida State later this year, leads by 8. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Chris.
The quarterback for Eastern Kentucky slated for that game tonight was Tommy Luganville, the former Georgia Tech quarterback. Bill Lewis is here tonight, former Georgia Tech coach, doing this game, but he started him last year in the Arizona game, so I believe he's the quarterback for Eastern Kentucky.
And he played great in that Georgia Tech game.
Could have won that game.
Yes, sir. Go on the ground with David Thompson. And Thompson crosses the 45, maybe picks up 2. Thompson, the junior out of Okmulgee, Oklahoma.
Is he Okie from Muskogee or?
No. Muskogee is a different deal.
Now what? Where's he from?
Okmulgee.
Oh,
or Okmulgee.
Is that the neighboring town, Muskogee?
I wouldn't know. The only questions you ever ask me are ones that are unanswerable. You notice them?
That means they probably are dumb questions.
No. 2nd and 9. Jones play action under pressure. A lot of room up the middle. Jones gets out of bounds near the 30, and did he get a block from Sean Love? Ouch!
He caught Octavius McFarland, I think, counting his money as he was running across the field.
He better be counting his teeth now.
Octavius, number 4. Blitz is on, man coverage. Nobody on the quarterback. Tony Jones scrambling. Watch Octavius, number 4. He's counting his money. Sean Love, boom! Sean Love is only 5'11", 180 pounds. He unloaded on Octavius. Now, he'll get ribbed when that tape is shown on Sunday.
Bob Simmons may show that one about 5 times. Because here's how we can play.
That's the good things you look for. Second half, you're down 50-7. Who's going to play?
1st and 10, and Jones comes toward the sideline. He wants a timeout for Oklahoma State. Let's go to Jerry Punch. Doctor?
Guys, talking about the impact of NCAA sanctions here at Oklahoma State. Now, they went on probation, a 4-year probation in January of '89. Now, prior to that probation, they had 2 consecutive 10-win seasons. After that, it took them 3 years to win a total of 10 ball games. And you said they lost 5 scholarships a year for 3 years. They lost a total of 15 scholarships. Now, my question is, see what 15 scholarships did here in a program that had been winning 10 games a year. What could happen in Alabama, who could potentially lose 30 scholarships, twice the penalty that affected Oklahoma State?
Oh, Jerry, that's a great point. That would be devastating to any program. As we pointed out earlier with those scholarship losses, when Bob Simmons came here, he had only 46 kids on scholarship, and the way it works, not all of them are good players, guys you want to use. The cupboard was bare, and if they do that to Alabama, whether it's justified or not, this is just a hypothetical situation, you literally take a chance to destroy the program.
Well, you do, and that's why I think's wrong. SMU's had a hard time getting back. Oklahoma State's had a hard time getting back, and you're punishing the future players. Just fine the university $2-3 million because the money's going to hurt them. But why punish guys who are in grade school when half these things happen?
And Bob Simmons continues to pay the price for it in his first game as the Oklahoma State coach. You guys make an excellent point. First and 10, 4:20 to go, third quarter. Thompson on the toss. Great run support from the secondary. McFarland comes up from his rover spot. Just so well schooled, Mike.
They do not make mistakes. Octavius McFarland, he got the cobwebs knocked out of him a little bit ago, you know, so he's alert now. He's going to try to punish them back a little bit because he took a hit from Sean Love, but took too long to develop again, Mike. When you run the sweep play, it's got to hit up in there outside the tight end. The longer it goes outside, worse chance it's got to be effective.
And Nebraska's always been known for its size, but we talked about this last year. One of the reasons they can win a national championship is they changed their philosophy. Not too long ago, they knew they needed more speed, and they recruited speed.
They did it after they were beaten by Washington several years ago.
Mays, the tight end over the middle inside the 10-yard line. Good, quick throw from Tony Jones.
Again, Alonzo Mays against a defensive back, and he's a 6'6", 252-pound sophomore. And this is what you like to see if you're Bob Simmons. Your team's not quitting. They're trying to get in the end zone. Here's Alonzo Mays on the slow delay. Eric Stokes, number 16, with a tackle out of the Nebraska secondary. You're looking for good things to build on. That's what you're looking for. Positive things that you can find in this game and stay positive with your team.
And we've seen some good things from the freshmen and sophomores tonight for Oklahoma State. And that's exactly what Bob Simmons wanted to publicize with his program. Got some good young players we can use some more of. Grenier, the man in motion. Thompson got a good block. Touchdown. Thompson, 12 carries, 107 yards on the night. The touchdown run went for 8.
They got him outflanked with that motion. Roger Pfeiffer, the tight end, was able to move up inside, get a key block. But Bobby Simmons and Les Miles, the offensive coordinator, with a good play call. You see the tight end in motion. They've got Nebraska outflanked. David Thompson into the end zone for the touchdown.
Lawson Vaughn on for the point after out of Ivy's hold, and he knocks it through. 50-14 with 2:56 to go, third quarter. And one of the few opportunities for the Spirit Rider aboard Bullet.
The second look at the touchdown run. Looked like Larry Arnold, number 23, the outside linebacker out of Copley, Ohio, got caught inside. He's a former defensive end. Octavius McFarland again taking the hit by David Thompson.
Until I tell you it's #1 batsman. Now the next guy, where's Williams?
That's Craig Bowl, the linebacker coach. And the one thing when you're on the road like this, you don't want to put the bats away too early. You know, you want to keep getting momentum. You don't want to go into next week's game against Michigan State by having a bad third or fourth quarter.
Kenny Cheatham and Amon Green are deep. That drive, 66 yards, took 3 minutes and 42 seconds off the clock, and certainly the most impressive drive Oklahoma State has managed to put together tonight.
Mike, Kenny Cheatham, who's back as a kick returner, is 6'3", and he quit his high school team because they ran an option offense. He didn't. The first 3 games he quit, and they talked him back into coming out, told him he'd catch a few more passes, and his coach showed him all the letters, 300 letters, and talked him into pursuing college football. He loves college basketball. Arizona and UCLA recruited him in basketball.
And where does he end up? Nebraska, where as a wide receiver he's got a block.
That's right. Ron Brown recruited him.
Cheatham backs up to the 1. Has a good wedge in front. Over the 30, near the 35-yard line. Coming up later on tonight, Mike and I will be selecting our Wrangler players of the game. Going to be a tough choice on the Nebraska side, isn't it?
Who are you leaning toward right now?
Nobody.
Okay. Not going to.
I should have said Coach Gottfried will be selecting our player of the game.
No, I think it's going to be between one or two players.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay.
Keep it a secret.
Well, you've got the vote. Beringer is the quarterback. Amon Green is the fourth I-back used tonight. And Green will get the carry on the sweep. Nice move to the 40, 50. Even when you go 4 deep on the I-backs in Nebraska, yet people can play. And Adam True was leading the blocking again.
And you just, again, miss tackles. They're just a little bit tired in the secondary, and they're not making plays. R.W. McQuarters missed a tackle. Last 6 possessions.
What's that punt doing in there?
That should be erased if you're Tom Osborne. But look at the drives and look at the time.
They have had 11 plays tonight that have covered 15 yards or more. It's just devastating. Makovica, that's the second Makovica, is the new fullback. The freshman, the brother of Jeff. And that's Clester Johnson making his first catch of the night, former All-State quarterback.
Tommy Frazier on the sideline, and you talk about the competition of the two quarterbacks.
Is it going to be tough for Frazier and Phillips competing for the Heisman? Will they split votes off the same team?
I think they will. I think that Tommy Frazier's in the best position because he's the quarterback on the team. He's going to throw and run, but depends on the number of plays he's on the sideline.
Penn State had that obvious problem last year with a quarterback and a running back. Flanker screen. Doesn't produce much as Cheatham comes in. That play was slow developing.
Real slow. Talking about Kenny Cheatham when he dropped out of his football team. His high school coach, Cleveland Dansby, just kept talking to him, and the Nebraska coaches talked to him, and when he rejoined the team, that's when Cleveland Dansby told him, he said, you have a career in football, young man. You're a good track player and a good basketball player, but football may be your game.
Two-time state 200-meter champion in Arizona. Give it to the tailback, Amon Green. And Jake Grossfield is in on the stop.
Jake Grossfield beat the block of the offensive lineman, was able to get into the backfield and make the play on that. He's a junior, 6'4", 255 pounds.
Iowa State coming back in the fourth quarter. Big win for Appalachian State. Now Central Florida wins it by 8.
Put a lot of points on the board against Eastern Kentucky, a perennial team in Division I AA.
2nd and 9, under a minute to go, third quarter. Beringer gets it out. Holbein makes the catch at the 30, stops shy at the first down.
There's the plus of Brooke Beringer because he has such a strong arm. He drops the football, loses sight of the wide receiver, picks the ball back up, and is able to have a strong enough gun to get it out there to the wide receiver. He has a strong arm and a great time in the 40. 40 snaps, Tommy Frazier, 18 for the backup quarterback.
Beringer's pass efficiency rating last year was almost 150. Would have put him in the top 7 in the nation if he had had enough attempts to qualify. Makovica, the fullback, has the first down to the 23.
I talked about it earlier, answering the opponent's score, and that's what they're trying to do again with this drive. Oklahoma State put points on the board. You want to come right back and score against them.
And keep in mind that Tom Osborne has a lot of questions to answer about his backup players. What are they going to be able to do? And this is a perfect opportunity for him to be able to find out. Meanwhile, that's the end of the third quarter here at Oklahoma State. Nebraska leads it 50-14. And it just got longer, Chris, as Amon Green scored on a run, and it's 56-14 for Nebraska. The point after makes it 57-14, and the Huskers approaching 600 yards in total offense in this game. I think the concerns that people had about losing 4 of the 5 offensive linemen certainly may be unfounded. They have had no trouble tonight in pounding out the yardage.
Well, Aaron Graham, the center, leads the blocking. They don't have a lot of depth in the offensive line, but their first 6 players are pretty strong. Amon Green, just with strength, trying to get in the end zone. Good block by Brian Schuster, number 28. There's a good look. Again, in the end zone, the strength of the legs of Amon Green.
And Fisher and Williams, who tried to make the hand tackles and couldn't bring them down, you can tell they're just dog-tired after playing the entire game.
Poor tackling from about the Oklahoma State defense, but again, they're just tremendously worn down. They answered to score again.
They've had an answer for everything that Oklahoma State has done tonight. Drive took over 3 minutes, and it's 57-14 Nebraska.
Michigan State coaches are probably watching this game. They've got a pretty good football team. It'll be a little bit different up in East Lansing next week now. They've a little bit more of a seasoned ball club that Nebraska is going to play next week, but you can't scout Nebraska this year, so they can't have anybody here, but I'm sure they're watching this game, thinking about some of the things they're going to put together. Jerry Franco is the offensive coordinator.
McCorders from the 80 gets out to the 22-23 yard line. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Guys, I want you to get a shot of head coach Tom Osborne for Nebraska. Take a look at his hands now. Take a look at his left hand. It has a wedding ring on. Now, what's missing from his right hand? Answer, national championship ring. Well, he isn't wearing it. You got to believe that's sort of not his style. He's a very quiet, unassuming, very unpretentious individual, and you think a guy waits 22 years to get one, he'd wear it, but Tom Osborne's not going to flaunt it. Plus, he said the thing's awfully heavy.
Well, you know, Jerry, he always contended that that wasn't the be-all and end-all, so maybe we shouldn't be that surprised that he's not wearing that ring, but he certainly earned it. Put together a tremendous program. Draw play, Thompson trying to get outside, and does. Thompson's had a good night. He's run the ball hard and run it well.
Good block by the center, Brian Hope, number 56. But if there's a plus tonight, I think for Oklahoma State, it's the tailback position. Andre Richardson, David Thompson, both strong tailbacks that are going to gain some yardage in the Big 8.
Crowd showed up tonight, about 45,000. There you see the total yards. And Oklahoma State has just gone over the 200-yard mark against the reserves for Nebraska's defense. But when it mattered, they weren't getting anything. Thompson again. Nice hole up to about the 44. Now, people might ask, why aren't they throwing on every down? They're behind so far. They want to establish something positive.
They want positive results. Tell you an interesting play here. Watch the fullback, Jeff Grenier. This is how to block on the option play or on the isolation. Watch the fullback right here. He's going to lead through on the linebacker. That's the way to play the isolation, too, if you're the linebacker.
Grenier, 6'1", 240, pretty good-sized fullback.
That was a good collision. Aaron Penland, the linebacker on that play.
Thompson now 14 carries, 128 yards. He gets another chance here. Sidesteps one tackle, but a swarming Nebraska defense pulls him down. Mike Fullman came up from the secondary to break up the play.
Mike Fullman, the corner, was rolled up on that side and playing the receiver right in his face. As soon as the toss sweep came about, he was right in the backfield with good run support. He's 160 pounds, but he bought it all.
Uh-oh. I hope that doesn't become real popular. Whatever it was.
That's what we need for Jerry Punch's buddy down the sideline.
Jones straight back to throw. Under pressure. Sacked again. Brought down by Scott Saltzman, the junior from Wichita Falls, Texas.
And he's the third defensive tackle. He's fresh. He's on the field. Able to go in and make the sack on Tony Jones.
And that's the fourth of the night for Nebraska.
Just beats the block of the center. They had all three interior linemen covered. Had a nice little stun on. Scott Saltzman in on the quarterback for the sack.
Greg Ivey comes on to punt, and Reggie Ball is back at his 25.
And Reggie Ball's dangerous. We've seen him tonight on 1 touchdown reception. He's got great speed.
Nearly blocked, and Ivey did a great job just to get it out of there. Taken on one bounce at the 28-yard line. Terrell Farley nearly blocked it again. He has gotten so close to 2 of them tonight. Timeout on the field. Back in a moment. 7-14, Nebraska with the lead. 12:27 to go in the ball game. Nebraska has just regained possession at their own 29-yard line. I still don't know what to call that thing.
Call ahead.
Matt Turman is the new quarterback for Nebraska. Runs the option. Tosses it out to Sims. Nice run by Sims. Let's go back to the last punt. Nearly blocked.
Terrell Farley's going to come in from his outside position, and there's a way to block a punt. Stop it right there. See, what you want is the defender to put his hands to take the ball off the foot of the kicker. Terrell Farley knows how to block kicks. See his hands right there extended. He just barely misses it. But I can tell you one thing. If you're a coach that's going to play Nebraska this year, you better be able to block him. He understands how to block kicks.
He had 22 blocks in 2 years in junior college. 22, either punts or field goals. Joel Makovica, the number 3 fullback, gets the carry. There is Farley. Just had, and some people do have the knack. Who was the best you ever had?
Had a lot of good players. A couple good ones at Cincinnati. George Jamison, who's still playing in the pros, used to play for the Lions, now the Chiefs. He was very good at it. Antonio Gibson, who played for the Saints, was good at it. The knack of taking the ball off the kicker's foot and not leave your feet.
Turman, a little short set, throws, and it's intercepted right in the hands of Geroyd Johnson. So Turman's first pass is complete, but to the wrong guy.
He had a bad read. He had the right receiver, but he needed to pump it and go deep with it because the corner, Geroyd Johnson, just sat on the play. Matt Turman coming down the line of scrimmage. Here's the throw, but there's no receiver out there. The only receiver is number 4, Geroyd Johnson from Oklahoma State. His receiver took off down the sidelines and was open. Just had a bad read.
If you've been with us all night, you know we've been giving you scoring updates all throughout the process. The time specifically, 10 minutes after the hour, 30 minutes after the hour, and 50 after the hour. Andre Richardson, the tailback, behind Jones. And they run the option. Jones cuts it back in, trips over his own man down at the 37-yard line.
Inside the Nebraska 40.
What you got to do if you're Bobby Simmons, though, you can't let this game affect your whole season. What you have to do, again, is go back, find the good things, and start back to the practice field tomorrow and get ready for the next ball game, because you're up against a team. It's a machine. They're a good football team, and you learn from this game, and you still have a very positive season.
And Simmons is a very positive person. Second and 6, Andre Richardson. Well, Nebraska's second team and even the third team defense pretty tough.
You brought it up about how they changed their style. Washington came in with that 4-man front, and they had moved defensive backs to linebackers, linebackers to defensive end, and Nebraska copied it. They said, hey, they're pretty successful at this front and getting speed on the football field, and they made the move about 3-4 years ago to go to a more quicker defense, and it's resulted in the national championship and a pretty good team here.
They were able to play through the conference schedule. Once they got into the bowl games, they were overwhelmed by that speed, it seemed. Throw over the middle of Mays, the tight end. He bulls his way inside the 15-yard line. Lowered his head, went over Jamal Williams.
Alonzo Mays has been the biggest offense at Oklahoma State. Only a sophomore. See him release inside. No one picks him up. Some broken coverage right here. Safety get down low. Alonzo Mays would have ran over Eric Warfield, number 3.
Mays, 3 catches, 57 yards. Richardson, the deep man behind Grenier. Players jump all over the place. Jones has the play blown dead.
I think this one will be on Nebraska. The center did snap the ball again when they crossed the neutral zone. Probably should go against Nebraska. We'll see what happens.
We thought that the last time, and it went against Oklahoma State.
I think this one's going against Nebraska. Come on, fellas. Let's go. Move it. Make the decision. Easy call.
Dead ball. Offside. Nebraska.
There you go, Mike.
I got one right. I got one right. They've had many right tonight. Let me tell you. They've done a nice job officiating tonight.
That's what I used to say about the instant replay in the NFL. The replay come up. I said, well, they got to reverse this. No. And a lot of smiles on the Nebraska sideline, and why not? Quite a debut in defense of their national championship. Some good corn-fed young man, don't they?
I don't know where they get them all.
1st and 5 after the penalty. Jones wants to throw. Grenier in the flat, wide open. Touchdown. Nicely designed play as they sent the fullback Grenier in the flat, and Jones hit him in a hurry. Mike, I think they've tried to throw that pass about 4 times, but there's always been a defensive end there to knock it down.
It's been knocked down twice tonight. Tony Jones just lifted the ball over the defender, had more of an alley here to throw for the touchdown. And that'll help his confidence. The junior quarterback finishing strong.
Lawson Vaughn for the point after, and Vaughn was knocked flat in a defenseless position as he put the kick up. And he was hit by Mike Fullman, the corner, coming in trying to block the extra point. And Lawson Vaughn is able to get up and get off, but Fullman appears to be the guy that's hurt. You hate to see that because that kicker is totally vulnerable. We'll check on the injury when we come back as Oklahoma State gets its 3rd touchdown of the night.
Go Nebraska!
Number 12 is Mike Fullman. He had to be helped to the sideline after the collision on the extra point attempted block.
You have a point, Mike, that you try to go to if you're going to try to block a kick. You study the kicker and you know where he ends up. He just got too far inside and hit the kicker, and Mike Fullman was injured on that play.
And Lawson Vaughn was lucky he wasn't seriously injured. So you mark off the penalty to the 50-yard line on the kickoff. Don't you have to go for an onside kick here?
You'd like to get your offense back in there. I think it's a good call right now to go for the onside kick. Not so fast.
Well, shows how much we know. Let's go to Chris Fowler. Chris?
Mike, it was a struggle. Brooke Shields was stressing. But Andre Agassi advances into the 3rd round of the U.S. Open, winning in the 5th set over Alex Corretja 6-2. He next faces Stefan Edberg. Sports Center with highlights right after the game. Back to you guys.
Boy, Chris, we don't want to see Brooke stressed. (57-21). Nebraska takes over at the 20. And hustles his way out to the 36. Let's go to Jerry Punch. Doctor, what do you have?
Guys, you wonder how soon Bob Simmons' staff will begin working to put the pieces together tonight. Well, they've already begun working. I'm actually in the coach's offices in the east end zone, and behind me is Dan Wisenhunt, who's the video coordinator at Oklahoma State. He has already begun breaking down this game film play by play. He does it for 2 reasons. First of all, the coaches are going to want to see this film, painful as it may be, after the game. But also, the Big 8 requires all 7 officials to view the game film after the game, with the exception of late-night games. And, of course, tonight they won't have to view this film, but he'll make this film. He will give it to the officials when the game is over after they shower, and then they will take it home and view the entire film, as will the coaches.
All right, Jerry, thanks very much. That's a great look at what goes on during the game as Makovica breaks a big one. And there you get a look from the outside of that viewing booth.
Video coordinators have become very important in college football and the pros. Dan Wisenhunt used to be at North Carolina State. He's outstanding in his field.
Spot the ball at the 24-yard line. Another first down for Nebraska. 39-yard run by Makovica, who is the number 3 fullback on the depth chart. 8:43 to go in the game. Nebraska with 57 bidding for more.
Problem is when you score, you make them mad.
Herman goes out in the flat. Jeff Lake, the number 5 split end, makes the catch.
Mike, there's some good games this weekend. Georgia and South Carolina. Ray Goff's Georgia team. Been reading where they've got some real good defensive linemen. That'll be a good ball game. Miami, UCLA. Miami starting Ryan Collins. I was down there, watched a little tape with the coaches. They've got a couple good young quarterbacks, Covington and Clemens.
Sort of a cloud still hanging over them, though, isn't it, Mike?
They're going to be happy to get to the field to play a game.
Makovica with the run up the middle. Sports Center coming up. Dan Patrick and Mike Tirico will catch you up on their college football preview, what's coming up this weekend, all the highlights in Major League Baseball. And a day in the life of Terry Bowden, which has got to be a pretty good life right now, the way that young man's coaching career started off.
He's got Ole Miss this week. Tom Tuberville starting his first game as the Ole Miss coach in Auburn with that great ground game. They may have the best offensive line in the country. Now, we're looking at a pretty good one tonight.
If they're better than this one, look out in the SEC.
It's a pretty good offensive line. Rick Trickett's the offensive line coach there.
Option. Terman dives inside the 5-yard line. Needed to get to the 3 for a first down. Grossfield was in on the tackle.
You can't forget about Penn State's offensive line, too. They're supposed to have a great offensive line. Michigan plays Illinois this week. I think Michigan's going to have a tough time up at Illinois. Simeon Rice, Hardy, got some pretty good defensive players.
Well, Michigan's offensive line certainly showed it could pass block in the second half.
They really did. It was a great comeback against Virginia.
I got to be honest with you. I turned that game off when it was 17-0. I thought it was over. I think the Cavaliers had just totally dominated play. Sims, speaking of dominating, goes right up the middle for the touchdown.
The answer scores, and they're now into the 60s.
And I've heard people say, you know, Nebraska wins by these huge scores. Tom Osborne guilty of running it up. I don't buy any of that. He runs his offense, and if you can't stop it, really, that's your problem.
Well, the tough thing is you only take 60 on the road, so all 60 of these guys can play, so it doesn't matter who's on the field. They're pretty good players. And you've really worn down Oklahoma State. They are not a factor at this point on defense.
And he has played all of them. The point after is good. And Nebraska's lead goes back to 43. They're ahead 64-21. Nebraska in a romp over Oklahoma State in the season's opener for both ball clubs. 64-21 Huskers. Thompson with the return. Trying to pick his way through traffic and doesn't get back to the 20-yard line. 651 yards in total offense tonight for Nebraska. 651.
I think we saw Carl James here earlier, and both of us know him.
Nice man.
Great guy, and Steve Hatchell's going to take over, and I think 2 class people leading this league here in the Big 8, soon to become the Big 12.
What do you think of the concept of those super conferences?
I don't like them. I'm a traditionalist. I'd like to stay with the old. I'd like to see the Southwest Conference still in existence.
Well, you've got 3 months to go. Thompson tries to get outside, gains maybe a yard as Worthy makes a nice tackle from his inside linebacker spot. Ramon out of Camden, New Jersey. A lot of New Jersey players on Nebraska's roster.
They've always recruited well in New Jersey, and they've even got some walk-ons to walk all the way from New Jersey to Nebraska.
Turnpike didn't go that far, did it?
No, well, I think they get some side roads.
I know the toll booths don't extend all the way over here. Clock running, 6:23 and counting. Tony Jones to throw. Has good protection this time and throws back. That's a tough throw to make, and juggling Andre Richardson can't hold it. Let's go to Chris Fowler. Chris?
Well, besides Nebraska, there is another happy Big 8 team tonight. Iowa State has snapped its 13-game winless streak. They win the Donut Bowl, the battle of teams that were winless last year, 36-21 over Ohio U. Troy Davis, 40 carries for 291 and 3 touchdowns. Back to Stillwater.
You would hope there'd be a pretty good catered lunch for the Donut Bowl, wouldn't you?
I would think they'd have a big celebration in Ames tonight.
3rd and 9 for Oklahoma State. Jones on a quick roll again to Mays. And the big tight end rumbles across the 35 to the 36. Dr. Jerry Punch down on a very hot sideline. Jerry?
A little humid down here, guys. Let me just update Jason Jenkins, senior defensive tackle. You saw him a minute ago going to break. He has a mild sprain of the right ankle. In fact, the anterior part of the right ankle. And Jason just wanted to let Paul and Sandra Jenkins, watching back in New Jersey, his mom and dad, I don't get to see him play much, know that he's okay. Little mild ankle sprain. He'll be up and around tomorrow once the swelling goes down. But he's not going to play anymore here tonight, guys.
All right, Jerry, you just made a family very happy down there. The young man doesn't feel any pain at all right now.
Ben's mad, though, because he didn't use him.
Jones throws, nobody there. One receiver went inside, one out, and Jones threw it in the middle. Now we've got Memphis, New Jersey. The ESPN message machine is hard at work here with a 64-21 score. More movement along the offensive and defensive line, and another flag is down with 5:42 to go in the game.
Who would you vote for player of the game for Oklahoma State? They're asking me who I like. I threw out Mays, his name, Alonzo Mays, and your guy,
Major Thompson.
R.W. McQuarters. He did some good things.
I tell you what, R.W. McQuarters is going to win a lot of player of the game awards in his career, but I think Thompson.
Jeff Grenier played well, the fullback, but we're gonna hold it just a little longer. We're tabulating the votes here between
you,
Jerry Punch, Tom Punch down there on the sideline with Jerry, and myself. We'll get a vote here pretty soon.
All right. Remember, I don't get a vote. I'm not making any enemies this year.
I see. Stay away from it.
2nd and 5. Little toss in the flat. Richardson gets to midfield.
From Jones, complete on the right side to Andre
There's still
Richardson.
5:36 before we have to make this vote, because Andre Richardson's trying to make a good effort here. He hurt a hamstring in camp and has been slowed a little bit, but he's had a pretty good evening tonight.
Richardson breaks it outside, and an excellent tackle coming up in the corner. Mike Foreman, the young man who was injured earlier and comes back in the game. Solid tackle.
It's a difference between a team that's tired and a team rested. The team rested making good tackles. They're still doing the technique that they're taught. They're still wrapping up, and Mike Foreman, who was hurt a little bit earlier, made a good tackle. He's only 160 pounds.
If you're 160, you better have the technique down, Pat. He did on that one. Jones, a quick drop this time, and Grissom, another true freshman, makes the catch down at the 37. The passing game in the first half looked like it was taking a little longer to develop. These are real short sets and quick throws.
It's been better in the second half, but remember, they had a little bit of a rushing game to help, but Tony Jones has had more success throwing on first down this evening than any other down. So, again, positives that Bob Simmons can build on.
The young man hit only 44% of his passes a year ago. They know that has to go up, and his 14 interceptions have to go down. Tonight he's 11 out of 25, still under 50%. But against a world-class defense. Throws this wide of Sean Love. One of the raps against Nebraska, as far as national rankings have been concerned, the possibility of winning a national championship, is their schedule. It's not the toughest schedule in the world, but maybe a little stronger this year.
I think this is a pit right here for them. Right here, Michigan State, maybe the surprise team in the Big Ten. I tell you, they got to go to Colorado, and Howard right here, sitting here, they played them better. Oklahoma played them better than anybody did last year. So, and that doesn't mean they're going to waltz through those other games, but they should be a big favorite in all those games. But they've got a couple pits to get through before they can be undefeated again.
2nd and 10 for Jones. The draw, Richardson. Dancing his way down near the Nebraska 25-yard line where Leslie Dennis is in on the stop.
What made the play was Jeff Grenier, number 6, the fullback again, with another key block for the tailback. This young man has played very well.
Let's go to Jerry Punch, Doctor.
Guys, we're trying to figure out who should be the player of the game. In fact, my buddy Tom here is just biting his nails. We really can't decide. There's been so many people out here having an impact tonight for both sides. So Tom and I have decided we're going to go with whoever you two guys pick upstairs.
Oh, thanks, Jerry. Well, that leaves it all up to Mike because, as I said, I don't have a vote. So, Coach, it's on you.
Oh, I like Tom. I'll tell you what, he's added so much to this team.
Not too chatty, though. Richardson again. What a pretty tackle. Jamel Williams. Shot through, got him around the knees, and dragged him down.
They just keep bringing him in, linebackers. He's 4 deep. Jamel Williams with a good picture-perfect tackle. Wrap up, drive through. Here's the tackle. And number 25, Andre Richardson, seemed to drive through the legs, make the tackle, wrap up, bring the tailback down.
4th down between 2 and 3 yards. And obviously they'll go for it. Thompson is in the tailback. Jones to throw. Grenier has it intercepted. Jeff Ogard. 6'6", 310, showed you some hands. They just put me on offense, Coach.
Jeff Ogard, number 97. Ball thrown too soft. He was able to bat it up in the air, keep it alive. Now he becomes a fullback.
Well, look at the balance on that guy. 310 pounds, reaches behind him to make a catch, stumbles and retains his balance. Again. And Amon Green, the number 4 tailback on the depth chart with 2.5 minutes to go in the game, hitting at the line of scrimmage.
The only thing I can think of that's gone bad tonight for Nebraska is they got a long bus ride ahead of them. Other than that, everything's been going great.
Yeah, but it'll be pretty happy, and even the faithful have given it up here at Oklahoma State. People filing out of here, but they came to see the new era dawn under Bob Simmons. They saw that. They saw a national championship contender take apart their football team, but better days lie ahead for Oklahoma State under this administration. Once again, Amon Green, who passed on Notre Dame and Michigan and was said in some circles to be the best tailback recruit in the country. And he comes in here and he's got to wait to play as the number 4 tailback.
And they say he tested better than any player ever at Nebraska in all the tests that they ran, the speed test, the vertical jump. Amon Green, you'll be hearing that name for days and years to come.
Makavicka, the fullback, gets the carry for a couple to the 31. Clock continues to run under 1:30. Check some scores for you on Thursday night. Pretty active night. In Western Michigan, a winner by a touchdown.
Matt Turman last year in the Oklahoma State game at halftime, they were heading 9-3, both quarterbacks out. Matt Turman came in the second half and led them to a 32-3 win. So you never know when you get to that 13 quarterback. He has to be ready to play.
Nebraska now with 670 yards of total offense as Amon Green goes down to the 25-yard line. Nebraska got special dispensation from the Big 8 to bring extra players tonight. Because of the heat, the travel squad is 60. They were allowed to bring 67, Jerry Punch tells us. And Tom Osborne has used all of them. I think if he could have brought 100, he would have, and he would have played 100. Tonight's Wrangler players of the game from Nebraska, Lawrence Phillips, 153 yards. And from Oklahoma State, Alonzo Mays, 72 yards on 4 catches. The votes of Mike Gottfried and Jerry Punch.
And Tom Punch.
Congratulations, gentlemen. Good picks. And Tom Osborne wins in his 1995 debut, wins it easily over the outmanned Cowboys of Oklahoma State. Better days lie ahead for Bob Simmons and this program. Stay tuned for Sports Center. Coming up next, Dan Patrick and Mike Tirico get you caught up on our college football preview, the baseball highlights from the major leagues, and a day in the life of Terry Bowden. For Mike Godfrey, Jerry Punch, and our entire ESPN crew, this is Mike Patrick. Good night from Stillwater. The final score, Nebraska 64, Oklahoma State 21.